It's your claim that you were dissatisfied with the artwork.
Correct.
And you came in the middle of the dispute
Yes.
because she was screaming at him.
Name calling and belittling people and calling him stupid.
She even posted pictures on social media.
Oh, that I would like to see.
This is Judy. Larissa Quella-Ehlers is suing business owners Ernie and Sonia Gallego for a refund on custom T-shirts.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin.
Case 2014, Quella-Ehlers versus Gallegos.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Your last name is Ehlers?
Ehlers.
Ehlers.
Yes.
You have a son,
I do.
and he plays a sport.
He does.
What kind of a sport does he play?
He is in asphalt racing.
Is he on a team?
We have our own team. It's called Lionheart Racing.
And how many people are on the team?
He is the sole driver, but we have a pit crew of approximately 8.
And he doesn't wear a uniform. When he
wears
drives.
a race suit, yes.
He wears a race suit.
Correct.
So the T-shirts that you ordered from the defendant were for the 8 and crew.
It was to sell. My son has a congenital heart defect, and he was treated when he was very young at Chalk Hospital, so we sell shirts to donate the proceeds to Chalk Hospital.
To whom?
We sell shirts to fans, to the pit crew, to family, friends.
Well, pit crew is only 8 people. I assume you give them a shirt.
We do.
Yeah, of course. So the other ones you sell, if you could sell. How many years have you been selling these shirts?
2 years.
And last year, who made the T-shirts for you?
A place called Rush Order Tees.
Would you look that up, please?
Sure. It's an online T-shirt ordering.
And when they came last year, how many did you order?
We ordered 200 last year.
How many did you sell?
We sold all of them.
And how much were they? A
They were
piece to make?
$25 a piece.
To make.
To make 13, I believe.
So you were able to give a lot of money that year to your favorite charity.
Correct.
Why didn't you go back to Rush Order Tees this year?
Sonia, the defendant.
No, I'm asking you, were satisfied with your product?
I was, and I was actually in the process of getting ready to place a new order when I received a call at my office asking if I would be interested in placing an order with their company that was a local company.
And who did you get that call from?
Sonia.
That's you.
Yes.
How did you get the plaintiff's number?
I was making calls to local businesses listed as members of the Placentia City Chamber of Commerce. Her place of business, Impact Properties, came up as a member, and I made a call, and she was the one that answered the phone.
And what did you say to her?
I introduced myself, and I let her know that we are a screen printing business here in Placentia, and I was reaching out to local businesses to see if they would be interested in ordering custom T-shirts, and if not, at least to let them know that we offer those services for future reference.
How much did you quote her per T-shirt?
So she ordered a few different garments.
Just tell me what you quoted her.
$14 per T-shirt.
That's $1 more than you had paid last year.
Correct.
Had you gotten a quote from Rush Order for this year?
Not yet.
Well, that would cut into your profit by about $200.
Except that I didn't have to pay shipping.
Rush Order isn't a large online reputable business for screen printing, bags, cups, shirts, things like that.
And you were happy with them last year?
Yes.
On what date did you place an order with the defendant's company for these T-shirts?
March 30th.
Do you have a written agreement?
I do.
May I see it, please?
I would like to note that the $14 quote was for 90 T-shirts, not 200. So that does.
I just want to see what the contract says. Okay. Yes, $14 was for 90. That was for short sleeved. Long sleeve printed was $16 plus tax. There's a setup fee, redraw artwork, extra large sizes. Well, this is not a signed agreement. However, the last sentence reads, by submitting your payment, you agree to these terms and conditions. You are verifying that all the information on the invoice is correct. You submitted payment.
I do have proof of payment, yes.
They don't dispute that you actually paid them because you had to pay them in advance.
Correct.
Okay, so this is a clear contract. And it's your claim that you were dissatisfied with the artwork, you had paid already, you want a refund, you did not use their T-shirts.
Correct.
And I believe you actually canceled or tried to reverse the credit card that you had used.
I tried to get a refund through PayPal, correct.
And according to you, that was denied because the defendant said that you had actually picked up the T-shirts.
Correct.
Okay.
And I have proof of that from PayPal.
I'd like to see that.
Larissa hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
The incorrect logo was used.
Judy reviews the document.
Okay, before I get into the substantive part of it, whether or not you like the artwork or not, who was contacted by PayPal? Which one of you?
That would be, he handled
Okay.
the PayPal claim.
I took care of PayPal.
You took the call from PayPal.
Yes.
When you had communication with PayPal, do you have any proof, written proof of your communication, or did you just speak to PayPal verbally on the phone?
Both. We talked on the phone, and we also, PayPal documents our conversations via email through the website.
Did you tell PayPal that the plaintiff had picked up the merchandise?
Yes.
Well, that's not true.
It is true. She picked up the merchandise.
No. I don't believe that, sir. I believe she was dissatisfied with the merchandise. But unless you can prove to me that she picked up the merchandise, I don't believe that.
Okay.
Because she may be a tough cookie, and she may have gotten crazed with you and said miserable things about you in her review. But she would not be here today if she picked up the merchandise.
Her event was the next day. The day she picked them up, it was the day before her event.
Who gave it to her?
We gave it to her.
Not we. No, not we. Who gave it to her?
I gave it to her.
You're asking me a question, sir. You're asking me a question.
Her order
No,
was...
just a second. You have a business?
Yes.
You're in a building. Is there a reception area in the building?
Yes.
Did you tell PayPal that they were picked up from the reception area in the building?
I don't recall.
I want you to think about it. I want you to think about it. Did you tell PayPal that they were picked up in a reception area in your building?
I don't recall if I said the reception area or my office. I'm not sure the terminology I used.
Well, what was it, reception area or your office?
My office is
That's a
reception
question.
area. My reception area is in my office. I don't recall exactly what I told PayPal, but she did pick them up that day. And that's what I told PayPal.
No, I don't believe you.
Okay. That's what we're here for.
No, that's what we're here for. Because sizing her up, she's a tough cookie.
Yes.
And she, as I said, might have been dissatisfied with the logo, which I don't necessarily have to even go into now. What the screen was like, what the colors were off, or whatever it was, I don't have to go into that. Because if I believe that she did not pick up the merchandise, and you told PayPal that she did pick up the merchandise, she gets her refund back. Now, so I'm going to come back to you. You didn't like the way they looked.
Correct.
I don't care why. Did you have other shirts made?
I did. I have one of them here today.
Do you have an invoice for the other shirts? Who did you have them made by?
Rush Order Tees.
That's easy. When did you have them made by Rush Order Tees?
I had them made in May.
Well, that's about 30 days later. And did you sell them?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Pull up an order from your phone for Rush Order Tees, please. While you're looking at it, just tell me, how much did you pay for them from Rush Order Tees, and how many did you order?
It was just slightly over $2,000. I believe we ordered 110 T-shirts.
Okay. And you got them sometime in May.
Correct. I'm sorry, that was April 26th was the exact date.
May I see it, please?
Larissa pulls up a document on her phone.
There's my order.
She hands the phone to Kevin. He brings it to Judy, who reviews the document.
It was 1828.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Okay, so Mr. and Mrs. Gallagher, she ordered the T-shirts within a couple of weeks and got them from another company, which suggests to me that if she picked up your T-shirts, she would not have done that. Do you understand?
I don't
Do you
agree with that.
understand?
No, I don't. Because if she
you
ordered
may
200...
you may not like it, but ladies may be, to you, abrasive, because that's what you say in here. She may be abrasive, but she would not ask for a refund through PayPal if
The
she had
previous year
picked
she
up.
ordered
If she had picked up the merchandise, she would not have done that.
The previous
So
year she ordered 200, and this year she ordered 100 from me, 100 from them, which same is consistent, 200 shirts.
I can answer to that if you'd like.
She picked them up.
No, she didn't. No, she didn't.
We ordered a smaller quantity this year because many of our friends had already purchased them the previous year.
Whatever. I don't believe that you picked them up. I believe that you got angry because they weren't exactly what you wanted. You looked at them, but there's no question that it was an easy answer for him to give when PayPal called and said she picked them up from the reception area. Okay, and I don't believe that. So you have to get your refund back because you were dissatisfied and because you lied.
Ernie bristles. Caption coming up.
There was an incident between the plaintiff and your husband, and you came in Did you say something to her?
Yeah, I did.
Don't.
I didn't want to talk to her.
No.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Larissa, Ernie, and Sonia.
Larissa Kuala Ehlers claims business owners Ernie and Sonia Gallego owe for a refund on custom t-shirts. Ernie and Sonia are countersuing for defamation.
But that doesn't justify.
What?
We did do all the work. The printing is the very last part of the order. We did the graphic work, we printed samples, we went above and beyond to try to make her happy, and she was completely unreasonable. There was
Listen, I said to you,
Yeah.
she may be a completely unreasonable customer.
Right.
That's possible. Fortunately, I don't have to go into that because the reason your husband gave PayPal for not giving her a refund was because she took the merchandise. And I don't believe that. I believe she may have been, in your eyes, a totally unreasonable customer. And if your husband had said to PayPal, we were ready, willing, and able, we fulfilled our contract to the letter, and we could just not satisfy this lady. The merchandise is here, ready to be picked up. It was always ready to be picked up. He didn't. He told them she got it, and that was not true. And that, Miss Gallego, is why she gets her refund back.
Her event was the day before. We were on a crucial deadline. We have our employees working overtime, getting her job done. We have receipts of all the items that were printed, that were ordered. She came in the day before her event, picked up what we had completed. I had completed approximately 72 shirts. She took one box out of 2 that day. She was going to come back for the rest. She left with what she had for her event. She even posted pictures on social media of our shirts.
Oh, that I would like to see. Did you pick up any boxes from him?
I picked up no boxes. And the event that he's referring to, my son has a race on the second Saturday of every month. I had asked for those shirts to be ready by his April race, but because they were not, I didn't have shirts for him until the March race. Every shirt that you see in my social media or my son's social media is the shirts that we purchased from Rush Order Tees.
I'd like to see.
This is our sample picture.
No, I want to see what.
Oh, here.
Is that one of the shirts that you prepared for
This
her?
is on her social media account. And then this is also just the graphic work that we did on her social media page.
Which
as well.
social media account?
I'll find out.
Sonia hands photos to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews them.
We know that's our shirts because I did the graphic design work. All the logos she gave me were like different colors. They were full color. They had black backgrounds. I revised, redrew everything, and converted them all to white.
Just 1 second.
I did the graphic work, and they're all in PNG form, so all you have to do is change them
If
to
she
white.
did the graphic work, then why would she pay us to do the graphic work?
And I have an email printout of the graphic she submitted to us. Is not print ready.
Oh, I don't care about that. I'm not getting into those weeds.
I have copies of all of the JPEGs.
According to you,
Yes.
I'm going to go back. He said that there were 2 boxes ready.
There were 2 boxes ready.
There's 2 boxes ready, but that wasn't all the shirts.
There was
2 boxes. The 2 boxes were not all the shirts. How many shirts were in a box?
72.
So what you're telling me is that she picked up 72 shirts.
Yes.
Okay. Go back and tell me. Just refresh my recollection as to what he said about the 2 boxes of shirts. Well, we had 2 boxes of shirts ready.
I didn't pick up a thing. They wouldn't even let me take a sample.
Whitney reviews the transcript.
She took 1 box out of 2 that day. She was going to come back for the rest.
Were there only 2 boxes or were there more than 2 boxes?
2 boxes.
Did you tell PayPal that she did not take half of the merchandise?
I told PayPal that we filled 72 pieces when I talked to him on the phone.
That's not what PayPal said to her, sir. That's not what PayPal said.
I'm not sure what PayPal said to her.
PayPal said that the merchandise was delivered to you.
Exactly
and you did not
what?
return, and it was not returned. But that's not true.
Exactly what
Only
I'm
half-
testifying here is what I told
well, just
PayPal.
well, then why wouldn't PayPal say to her, look, we don't know what the dispute is all about, color and everything else, but you're entitled to half your deposit back if you told her you only delivered half the merchandise.
The thing is, 100% of the shirts, there's 3 locations, a front, back, and a sleeve.
Listen.
We have everything's 100%, the sleeves are done. The 72 were printed 100%. We just had 29 shirts remaining, 28 shirts
Yeah,
remaining.
I don't believe you, Mr. Gallego. She gets her deposit back. Now we're going to get to your counterclaim. Counterclaim is for $5,000 for defamation. So I'd like to see how she defamed you.
So Larissa posted a negative review on Yelp, which
She's allowed to do.
She's allowed to. However, she's not allowed to say that my husband lunged at her and was aggressive. That's
I'd like to see it.
here you
And then I'll ask her about it.
And I've also included other reviews from other businesses that she's dealt with where it has the same MO. I spoke to another business owner.
Judy gestures for Sonia to be silent.
Did Miss Gallagher call you on your cell phone the day afterwards to apologize for her husband's behavior?
She called me that afternoon.
On your cell phone?
I believe it was on my cell phone, yes.
And this happened on April 26th of 2022?
It happened on
No.
April 8th.
Okay, so that would be in your phone log.
Should be, if I still have it.
While she's looking, Miss Gallagher, after this incident, when she came in and had this acrimonious discussion with your husband, which is evidenced in this review, did you call Miss Ehlers?
I
Did you call her?
I did call
That,
her.
okay.
Yes, I
And
did.
that because that she can prove that you called her.
Yes.
Now, after this screaming match that she had with your husband, where she left your premises,
It wasn't
she
a
said
screaming
just
match. It
she said that you came down for whatever reason. I'm just asking you things that can be proven.
Right.
What can be proven is after she stormed out that day, you called her the next day. I want to know what you're claiming you said to her the next day.
I gave her a call to smooth the situation over.
Just tell me what you said to her the next day. Hello, it's me from $5 school teas. It's Sonia.
Okay.
What did you say to her? Be careful.
I don't remember word for word, but what I do remember saying is that I apologize for how everything played out.
Okay. Okay, because there was an incident between the plaintiff and your husband.
Yes.
And you came in.
Judy glares at Ernie.
Did you say something to her?
Yeah, I did.
Don't.
I didn't want to talk to her.
No.
Caption, coming up.
I think you got into a screaming match with her, and I think that your wife intervened that day, which is why she called her the next day to try to smooth things over.
I know that's what you think.
This is not a
That's not actually
tea
happened,
dance.
though.
This is not a tea dance.
Ernie nods. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Larissa, Ernie, and Sonia.
Larissa Kuala Ehlers is accusing business owners Ernie and Sonia Gallego of ruining her custom t-shirt order. Ernie and Sonia say Larissa left a negative review and defamed them.
Okay, you came in the middle of the dispute.
Yes.
And in the middle of the dispute, you try to calm things down.
Yes.
Because she was screaming at him.
Yes.
And he was screaming at her.
No.
What was he saying to her? She was screaming at him, and what was he doing? Now, just remember, you called her the next day.
I did.
To apologize to her.
Not to her. I called to apologize for the entire situation from beginning
but
to
if
end.
what you're telling me is that the only one who was behaving badly was the plaintiff. That's what you're telling me. The only one that was behaving badly was the plaintiff.
She was out of line.
There's no question. There's no question. Actually, she acknowledges in this review.
But that's not the worst part of it.
She acknowledges in this review that she was out of line in screaming.
Yes.
And that's what you came into.
Yes.
So the only thing that you're disputing is that your husband was likewise screaming at her, answered her back.
He was not screaming. He was patient, and he was attempting to work it out with her. The only thing I remember him saying, and I can recall, is him saying, I'm trying to help you. I don't understand why you're acting this way. And I do recall him telling her that she was a bad person because she was...
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, a person can only take so much. She was...
I'm telling you, she says this.
Yes.
In her review. Okay. Now, you want me to look at other reviews that she wrote for a carpet company in 2021.
Yes, and I spoke to the owner.
Judy reviews a document.
Okay, first she complained about a carpet company and the horrible service. They laughed at her and disrespected her. Okay. And then, that was in 2021. That was a year before. Then she posted a review, according to the timeline, in 2015. So 6 years before.
It shows a pattern.
No, a pattern.
Yeah,
pattern.
for-
3 complaints. Three
no.
complaints from somebody who lives a life in 6 years.
I have a copy of all of the
Just a
5-star reviews.
shh. Okay, and this one said the owner wasn't interested in hearing her complaints. It was over the phone and hung up. That's 2015. Okay, she takes her reviews seriously. Now, you want to show me other reviews?
These are all of the 5-star reviews that I've done as well.
Yeah.
I'm an equal opportunity Yelper.
Just a second.
Larissa hands documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy.
Would you just show this to the plaintiff and make sure she agrees that those are hers, and then I'm going to have you show this to the defendants.
Kevin hands a document to Larissa.
Okay. Kevin, now show this to Ms. Gallego.
Kevin hands a document to Sonia.
All you have to do is look at them quickly.
Yeah.
Well, no, just a second.
Yeah.
You didn't look at them.
Oh, I was reading. Okay.
You don't have to read the whole thing. These are 5-star reviews.
Yes.
Count how many she did.
Yes, I see that there's
Okay.
a good.
So she takes her reviews seriously. It's not a pattern.
Right, but she's aggressive in everyone. Like I mentioned.
No, not
I
aggressive in here.
Well, not in those.
Not
but
not
in
in
the negative
here.
ones, yes.
Not in here. And 2 of the ones that you gave me were over the phone. If I
have
told you how
additional
many
reviews
times
on-
my husband hangs up on people over the phone aggressively.
I understand,
Yeah.
but name calling and belittling people and calling him
Retarded,
stupid.
Just a second. All unladylike.
She attacked
If
my
did-
faith.
Oh, listen to me. That's not what you're talking about, Mr. Gallego. You're talking about a lawsuit for defamation, that she posted something that was false on the internet. And I'm telling you it wasn't false because I think you got into a screaming match with her, and I think that your wife intervened that day, which is why she called her the next day to try to smooth things over.
No,
and
no,
I
no,
do
no,
not,
that's what you think.
this is not a
That's
this is
not
not a
actually
tea
happened,
dance.
though.
This is not a tea dance. You understand? This is not a tea dance. I believe that she did not pick up her shirts. I believe that that's why your wife called her to try to smooth out that, as well as what had happened the day before. She behaved badly.
You're allowing a
She
tyrant
behaved-
to get away
she-
with this.
I'm allowing a tyrant to get away
Tyrant.
with this?
She completely bashed us. She's lying. She picked up her order.
No, I don't believe that.
Your Honor, my reputation, I work with students, I work with teachers, moms. My reputation, I don't advertise.
Just a second.
It's all word of mouth.
She did not pick up her order, sir, even according to you. According to you, she only picked up a partial order. She picked up 1 box. That's according to you. That's not what
72
PayPal.
all the work.
That's
72 out of
not
100.
No, I don't. Listen to me. So what you're saying is there were 2 boxes, not in half. The orders were not in half. You filled up 1 box and only there was a little bit of merchandise left in the
Supposed to
second
come back
box.
for, yes.
Yeah, I don't believe you, sir.
Because
she gets
she
a
needs to-
refund. She gets a refund. $16.93.
But what about
Judgment
all
for
the
the
work that
plaintiff.
we-
Counterclaims dismissed. We are done here.
This court is adjourned.
Sonia and Ernie, then Larissa.
She completely dismissed the way she treated us.
She absolutely made the right decision.
I've never dealt with a customer like this in my 25-year history. I went well above and beyond.
They're angry with me because I didn't like their work product.
Our work speaks for itself. Our history speaks for itself. We have clients that have been with us for years, and we'll just continue doing what we're doing.
You always get what you pay for. Make sure you're looking out for where you're doing business.
Judy and Sarah.
I really believe that she got aggressive with him when she went to pick up those T-shirts. She acknowledges she got aggressive with him. She says in her Yelp review, sorry to say that she became angry and agitated and started screaming at him, which he doesn't have to tolerate. I do believe that his wife intervened, as she said in her Yelp review, that his wife came in saying to his wife, I'm talking to her, not to you. I can
Really
actually,
heated moment.
I can actually see
Visualize
him.
it.
I can actually visualize him saying that. The problem is you have to make a judgment. And the judgment really was whether somebody who was aggressive, and she was, who knows her business, knows what she wants, runs a business, had ordered the shirts before, had ordered them for somebody else, was satisfied with the previous order because there was no negative review
Of course.
that they showed from that order. She may have been dissatisfied. She may have had just cause to be dissatisfied. But he lied when she said she picked up the shirts.
Just to prevent her from getting a refund.
From getting her refund. So I didn't believe that because I don't think that that woman would have been here if she had picked up the shirts. She would have been here. She would have said, I want a refund because here are the shirts. It's not what I ordered.
Exactly. It doesn't make sense.
It's usually not true.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.
Your mother passed away.
Yes, ma'am. She agreed to pay everything. I said, I'll loan you the money. Sorry.
She contacted me.
That is not why I contacted him. Sorry.
Now you're getting cute with me.
Sorry.
This is Judy Justice. Tracy Jennings Spencer is suing her cousin, Chris Jennings, for a loan to cover funeral costs.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2009, Jenny Spencer versus Jenny.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Spencer, are you related to Mr. Jennings?
I am.
How?
He's my cousin
How?
on our dad's side. So his father and my father, that's how we're related.
How were they related?
So his dad and my father are pretty close in age, but they are cousins themselves. But my dad is pretty young, so they're close. My dad and his father are close in age, so they were more like brothers.
I still don't understand.
My father and his father were first cousins, but I was raised by my grandparents, so that's why we're close.
Okay, so your fathers were first cousins?
Yes.
Okay. Your mother passed away.
Yes, ma'am.
When?
Mother's Day on 2020.
Were you close to your mother?
I was very close.
Did you live together?
I was taking care of her for 8 years while she was...
So you were living with her?
Yes, ma'am.
How old was she when she passed away?
58.
What did she pass away from?
Her arteries had blockage. She had surgery twice, and they couldn't do the third surgery. Plus, she had 3 strokes.
When you were taking care of your mother, was that a full-time responsibility?
Full time. She had a colostomy bag, and plus she was in a walker before she had the strokes.
Was it just you and your mother living together?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it in her home?
It was in my home.
In your home?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that an apartment?
It was a house.
That you rented?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you and your mother support yourself?
I'm an RF technician, so I worked when I could be away from home, but when she got real bad sick, where she couldn't even walk, I couldn't even work, so I couldn't even go out of town. So I work on the road a lot. And she gets a disability check, which is about $1,800, which wasn't much at all for us to survive.
Are you back at work now?
Yes, ma'am.
Who are you working for?
Myself, I'm a contractor, Extreme Communications.
When your mother passed away, Mr. Jennings, are you an only child?
Yes, ma'am.
She passed away in the hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
At that time, you didn't have money for her funeral arrangements.
No, ma'am.
And you didn't have the funds to even take her body out of the hospital.
No, ma'am.
So what did you do?
Well, I thought I had insurance settlement. I was going to take care of that because she did have 2 burial plots. But when we went to...
Who's we?
Me and Angela.
Who is Angela?
She's my fiance. But when we went up there to... we've got 2 burial plots. When we went there to turn those in mortuary, they added on $10,000 or $15,000 to actually bury her. And I was unable to do that because her insurance had lapsed 2 or 3 months. You know.
So you didn't have money to take care of your mother's funeral expenses?
I did not.
Do you want to tell me how the plaintiff got involved with that?
I told Tracy exactly what... Yes.
At some point, your mother passed away on Mother's Day in 2020.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you contact Miss Spencer or did she contact you?
She contacted me.
When?
During the process of me suffering because I didn't have the cash to front my mother's funeral.
Well, you know, it's hard for me to ask the question, how did she know about that? But
yes, ma'am.
Were there other relatives?
I was posting things on Facebook.
Okay.
That's
so
how
what
she
did you
found it.
post on Facebook?
That I was trying to do a GoFundMe to help with my mother's funeral.
And how much after she died did you post something on Facebook?
Nothing much, not at all.
A day, 2 days, 5?
About 3 or 4 days after.
Did you see that? Is that why you contacted him?
That is not why I contacted him.
Okay, so why don't you tell me why? That's not what you said in your papers, so I'm curious. Why did you contact him?
As he said, his mother had been sick for quite some time, so her death wasn't completely unexpected. We had been following her progression on Facebook, and Chris is correct. He had been taking care of his mother. They were very close. But when the family saw on Facebook that she had passed, nothing got posted about funeral arrangements. And some of the members of my family who were not on Facebook contacted me and said,
don't tell me what they said to you.
Sorry.
So you were contacted by members of your family?
Correct, that are not on Facebook, asking about care.
Don't tell me what they asked.
I'm sorry.
As a result of those conversations, did you contact him?
Eventually. I did not contact him immediately because I just didn't feel like it was the right time. I knew.
When? Was it in June?
So it was right after her passing. I contacted his stepbrother and stepsister first because when I had not seen anything for 3 days, about funeral arrangements rather than calling Chris, who I knew would have his hands full handling matters. I actually contacted his stepbrother and stepsister, and I said, do you know anything about funeral arrangements?
Nobody did.
And so they didn't know anything, and suggested that I reach out to Chris. I said, well, I hate to do that. This is a really bad time, but I did it anyway. And so I called Chris and I said, Chris, I'm sorry to bother you. I know you're going through a lot, but some people are asking me about your mother's arrangements and I don't know what to tell them. It's been several days. Have you picked out a mortuary? And he started crying immediately, understandably so. He said, Tracy, I'll be honest with you, I don't even have the money to get her out of the hospital. He said, it's going to cost $500 to get her out. I said, okay. And I believed, without a shadow of a doubt, that he truly didn't have the money because they had a very tight relationship. So there was no question in my mind if he had the $500 to get her out, he would have. I said, Chris, it's okay. I'll loan you the money. I'll call the hospital. I'll take care of it. Just calm down. And so we hung up. I called the hospital and I told them, I said, I'm not next of kin, but I'm going to take care of this matter on behalf of my cousin. So here's my credit card for $500. And the morgue told me that I couldn't pay $500, that was only their portion of having her body released from the morgue, that they could only send her body to a funeral home.
They have to send it someplace. If they're releasing it, they have to send it someplace.
Correct. They said that she had been there for so long that she needed to go within the next day because they can only stay there for 5 days. And
got it.
Sorry. Okay. So they said she needs to go now. And if you don't come get her or have a funeral home come get her, we're going to have to send her to Spartanburg County and they're going to be in charge of her remains, and the next of kin is at risk of being arrested for abandonment. And so I freaked out. I called Chris back. I said, Chris, I said, it's not $500. I said, they're not going to let us get her, and do you know you're close to being arrested? And, you know, I felt really bad about that.
Where do you live?
Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Just take a look and see if you can find out next of kin responsibility. I'm surprised that you were given that information from the hospital. I may be wrong.
Morgue. Yes. So I called Chris and I said, the morgue is not going to let us get her body without a funeral home. Do you have a funeral home picked out? And I think at that time he said he didn't. And so he made some phone calls, Chris did, and then he called me back and he said, I found a mortuary. And so the mortuary that he selected was the one that ended up taking care of her remains. And so instead of me loaning him $500 to get her released from the hospital, I ended up getting stuck with $1,500 because I had to pay the mortuary.
Okay. He found a mortuary.
Yes, ma'am.
When you called the mortuary, did they tell you what it would cost?
I didn't call the mortuary to find out anything about that. She did. And she agreed to pay everything.
No, just a second. I'm not getting there.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not there yet.
Yes, ma'am.
So the question is, did you call the mortuary?
I called them to see if they could take care of my mother.
That's what I asked you. I said, did you call the mortuary?
Yes, ma'am.
And after you spoke to the mortuary, you called the plaintiff back.
Sure did.
Okay. When you called the mortuary and she had already told you it would be $500 to get your mother's remains from the morgue, but then you had to take her remains someplace. You couldn't take them in your car.
Right.
They had to go someplace.
Yes, ma'am.
And common sense would suggest that you would ask what their cost was, what their fee was. Is not an answer.
For cremation.
For whatever, and they told you it was how much?
They told me for the cremation, it was about $1,500 for cremation.
Okay, and then you called your cousin back.
Yes.
And let me hear the conversation, as you recall it, between yourself and your cousin.
Okay. I called her back and told her that I didn't have the money to take care of that. She goes, don't worry about it, Chris. I'll take care of it. It's exactly what was said.
Now, was that before or after you set up a GoFundMe page?
That was before.
So she took care of the bill?
Yes.
So this was 5 days after your mother's death?
Shh. Yeah.
You said it was after. Now, so it was 5 or 6 days before your mother's body was taken to the funeral home for the purposes of cremation. How many days after that did you start a GoFundMe page?
A couple days.
2 days. And what was the language in the GoFundMe page?
To help take care of my mother's funeral.
Well,
And expenses.
shh. Mr. Jennings, if what you just said to me previously was, read back to me, Whitney, what Mr. Jennings said about the conversation that he had with her. It started with, don't worry about it.
He said, okay, I called her back and told her that I didn't have the money to take care of that. She said, don't worry about it, Chris. I'll take care of it. That's exactly what was said.
Okay, good. So if she said she would take care of it, why would you post an outcry for money from strangers to bury your mother?
To go during the process of getting that money is exactly
No. Let's follow what you said, Mr. Jennings. What you told me was that you had the conversation, she took care of the bill. 2 or 3 days later, you started a GoFundMe page for your mother's funeral expenses. Is that not what he said?
Yes.
If it was a gift to you, I'm not understanding why you would start a GoFundMe page.
It's because it wasn't taken care of within 2 or 3 days, ma'am.
What do you mean it wasn't taken care of?
She didn't pay the bill within 2 or 3 days is the thing. That's the reason I did that.
Well, they wouldn't release the body unless they got paid with a credit card.
I understand that, but I was trying to
Just
have
a second.
backup.
A backup for what?
Just in case you didn't fall through.
Mr. Jennings, now you're getting cute with me.
No, ma'am.
Now you're getting cute with me.
And later today,
He said to you,
I need to borrow $2,300.
and you said to him,
Why can't you ask anybody else?
and he said to you,
His girlfriend's father, if he were to ask him, he would pry and find out that he was addicted to cocaine.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Tracy and Chris.
Tracy Jennings Spencer says her cousin, Chris Jennings, owes for a loan to cover his mother's funeral costs. Chris claims it was a gift.
now, the plaintiff had to give the hospital her credit card. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So before they released the body, which they had to do within a day, they had her credit card. And it wasn't until after that that you started a GoFundMe page. Okay. And don't raise your hand. And how much money did you receive from this GoFundMe page?
Like $200.
Okay. And you received $200 within what period of time?
Within probably 3 weeks.
How much of that $200 did you give to Miss Spencer?
0.
And your total cost was $1,500. Is that correct? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500.
This court is adjourned.
Tracy, then Chris.
Well, I'm very pleased that she saw what really did happen.
I think everything went exactly as planned.
I tried to step up in a time of desperation and an emergency situation, and look where it got me.
Everything's fine.
I think we'll be able to move past. I mean, at the end of the day, he's still my cousin, he's still my blood, and I'm always gonna love him.
Judy and Sarah.
I actually didn't need the answer to that question that I threw out at you with regard to whether a child is responsible for the remains of their parent, because it was just clear, you know, when you get them to do a timeline for you.
A lot of stuff unravels.
It all unraveled because what was the reason for starting a GoFundMe page if, as he alleged in his answer, she volunteered to pay for the funeral, unless he felt an obligation. Now, the obligation had to be as a result of that conversation that he would start a GoFundMe page. Anyway, unfortunate that she seemed like a very nice lady, very responsible, and she was very caring towards him. Shouldn't have ended up here.
Case number 2010, Hickman versus Vensloff. All parties, please step forward.
Vanessa Hickman is suing her trainer, Dylan Vensloff, for an unpaid loan.
Ms. Hickman, your case is relatively simple. You claim that you made a loan to the defendant, who was your personal trainer, when he said he was in a financial bind and he needed rent money, and you made the loan. And he paid some. His wife paid some.
Correct.
He made a couple of payments, but there is still a substantial balance.
Correct.
Mr. Vensloff said that this was not a loan, but prepayment for his training services, and that you sort of backed out of the training/nutrition program. So that's your problem. You lose your money. That's your defense, right?
Yes.
Just curious, before I get started with this case, how much do you get per hour for personal training? No, don't look over there. I want you to know that I know all about this. Everybody that I know except me has a personal trainer. I work out every day. I don't take instruction well, so I don't have a personal trainer. I have a husband who had a personal trainer. All my friends have personal trainers. So now I want you to answer my question, unless there's something extraordinary about you, which there is not. How much do you get per hour for personal training?
$75.
That's a reasonable figure. Just informational purposes. How much money did you take from Miss Hickman?
How much money did I take?
Yes, how much money did you take from it? I haven't decided what it's for, but money exchanged between you, she has proof of how much it was, and you. How much money?
I believe it was $2,300.
Is that right?
Correct.
And on what date did she give you $2,300?
I believe sometime at the end of last year, or it was close to the beginning of this year, somewhere along that time.
Date?
November 22nd, 2021.
And at that time, how long had you been training her? Since when? When did you start with her as a client?
I think like the beginning of summer last year, so I'd say...
Date?
July 2021.
Beginning, middle, or end?
Beginning.
July, August, September, October. So you had been training her for 4 months.
Yes, ma'am.
Up until November 22nd, how much money had she given you for training? Did she pay you by the week? Did she pay you by the month? How did she pay you?
Up front, first,
Okay,
monthly.
in July.
Yep.
Not yup. That's not yup.
Yes,
Yup
ma'am.
you say to your friends or to your wife. So in July,
Yes.
when you started,
Yes.
she gave you how much?
500.
For the month of July.
Yes, ma'am.
The month of August, how much did she give you?
500.
Is that correct?
Correct.
September,
Same amount, ma'am.
500. October,
Same amount.
November,
Same amount.
the beginning of November.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
not
actually,
yeah is not an answer. The beginning
Sorry.
of November, did she give you $500?
No, because that's when we had the agreement.
No, no, no. Don't give me agreement nonsense. The beginning of July, she gave you $500.
Yep.
Beginning of August,
Yep.
she gave you $500. Beginning of September,
Yes.
she gave you $500. The beginning of October, she gave you $500. How much did she give you in the beginning of November? This $2,300 was not paid until November 22nd. How much did she give you the beginning of November?
Then it must have been $500.
Is that correct? So now she has given you $2,500
Yes, ma'am.
for 5 months. She's given you $2,500.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Now I want you to tell me what happened in November after you gave him the $2,500.
So we agreed to $100 monthly payments.
This is in November?
November, after we signed the agreement.
What agreement?
The agreement was that...
No, I want to see the agreement. Don't tell me what it
Absolutely.
was. I'd like to see it.
Vanessa hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She dons her glasses, then reviews it.
Who wrote this?
I did.
Well, I don't actually understand it. It says, I, Mr. Venzloff, hereby accept $2,300 from my client, Vanessa Hickman, in trade and paid in advance for training. This will cover meal plans, planned workouts, in-person training, check-ins, and virtual check-ins from November 22nd, 2021 to May 15th, or 1 month of training and payment plans of no less than $100 a month, starting 12/22/21. I agree to pay back the full amount in 12 months. I actually don't understand what that means, because you agreed to pay back the full amount in 12 months by paying her no less than $100 a month, starting December 2021. First part says you're accepting this $2,300 from your client in trade and paid in advance for training, but that you will pay her $100 a month and be finished paying her in 12 months by 11/22/2022. Okay. So you wrote this up.
Yes.
I don't understand it because it doesn't make sense.
Of course.
So there had to be a reason why you picked this $2,300. He's been training you July, August, September, October, and November. You paid him $500 each month, or about $120 a week. And all of a sudden, there's a $2,300. What is there something that I said funny?
Dylan's wife's eyes widen.
All of a sudden, there's $2,300. Tell me how the $2,300 came about.
So over the course of those months, we became good friends. I see him 3 times a week. We get to know each other, talk, open up, and we're very friendly with each other. He opened up about me about having financial hardships.
No, he'd opened up. He said to you.
Yeah, he said to me, I need to borrow $2,300.
And you said to him?
Why can't you ask anybody else?
And he said to you?
His girlfriend's father, if he were to ask him, he would pry and find out that he was addicted to cocaine.
That's what he told you?
Correct.
And what did you say to him?
Oh, okay. So if I give you this money, we're going to write an agreement to cover me in case you don't pay me back.
And what did he say?
Okay. And that day on November 22nd, we wrote out the agreement.
No, you wrote the agreement.
Absolutely. I wrote it down, and he gave me a photo of his driver's license that day. And
you have a copy of that driver's license?
I do have a photo on my phone, yes.
I'd like to see it.
Of course.
Vanessa hands her phone to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
So you were working, and he was working. He was making money. So if you're the wife, you say, what do you mean? We need money for rent. I'm working. You're working. What's it all about? Did you know he had a drug problem?
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Vanessa and Dylan.
Vanessa Hickman claims her trainer, Dylan Venzloff, owes for an unpaid loan. Dylan says it was a trade agreement and not a loan.
Okay. Mr. Venzloff, understanding what I said to you before, that everybody that I know has a trainer. Everybody, except me. Nobody that I know has the driver's license of their trainer. Nobody. And I'm very old. Now, can you give me a logical reason why the plaintiff would have a copy of your driver's license in her phone?
To make sure that the trade agreement stays.
What's the trade agreement?
The trade agreement was that she was going to give me the money, and I was going to...
Just a second. Let's go back for a second.
Yeah, no problem.
So what she says, in part, was accurate. Is that what you're telling me?
In part.
That you became friends, you would talk to her, you had a girlfriend, you knew he had a girlfriend?
Correct.
You asked her for money?
Yes, ma'am.
Different amount of money because you were in financial difficulty?
Yes, ma'am.
And that she asked you, why couldn't you ask your girlfriend's father? Because she evidently knew that based upon the fact that you were friends, that you're the wife, girlfriend, whatever, your father has money?
Yes.
Okay. Why couldn't you ask the girlfriend's father, right?
Yes.
She asked you that question?
Yes.
And did you say to her, because I didn't want him to pry?
Yes.
Because I have a cocaine habit?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so she gave you the $2,300?
Yep.
Not yup.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Perfect. And that was on the 22nd of November of last year. After she gave you that money, and you were supposed to, according to this agreement, make $100 a month payments to her. That would took. That's what it says.
Yeah, if I was unavailable.
No, it doesn't say. There's nothing here that says unavailable.
Well, it's actually.
There's nothing. That's why I don't understand this agreement.
Yeah.
You see, not yet. That's why I don't understand this agreement, because one talks about training and workouts, and one talks about you agreeing to pay her back within 12 months at no less than $100 a month. So it doesn't make any sense. So now I have to figure out what it was that really happened. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this paper says something about $100 a month. Now, did you ever give her $100 a month?
Yes, for a month.
In what months did you give her $100 a month?
I think it was the first 3 months.
And you gave it to her how?
Via Venmo.
Did he give you the first 3 months?
He gave me the last 2 months, and his wife paid me the first month.
That would be you? Yes. Stand up, please.
Dylan's wife rises.
Tell me your last name.
Venzloff.
When did you find out that your husband had taken money from the plaintiff?
When she had sent me a message on Instagram asking for me to send her money that he was late on a payment.
And that was in what month?
I believe mid-January she messaged me.
January of 2022.
Correct.
And up until that time, your husband had not told you that he took money from the plaintiff. That's an easy question.
I don't believe so, no.
He had not. Well, that's what it sounded like. You didn't know about it because the first you heard about it was when she sent you a message. So he had not told you that he took money from her before. Now, when you found out, you confronted him about this, did you take money from the plaintiff?
I did.
And what did he tell you?
He told me that he had to pay for rent that month.
Were you living together?
We were already married.
Were you working?
I was.
So you were working, and he was working. He was making money. So if you're the wife, you say, what do you mean? We need money for rent. I'm working. You're working. What's it all about? Did you know he had a drug problem?
That was when I found out.
Okay. Well, that's a fair question. I like the honesty. Did you have discussions with him about that?
Yes.
Did he go into rehab?
Yes.
Great. When did he go into rehab?
He went for a week in December into a detox, and then he went for a month this last June, I believe.
Because he had a relapse?
Yes.
How long was it in June?
30 days.
During December and June, had he ever been arrested?
No.
So he did this voluntarily?
Yes.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Take a breath. All fine. Your husband owes her $1,800. That's what she's suing for. That's what he owes her. He knows he owes her that money. She was doing a good thing. She was being kind to him. And probably, ultimately, if he stays clean, saved his life. Reasonable, you know, because but for that, you wouldn't have found out, you wouldn't have forced him to take some action. Is that what happened?
Yes.
Do you have a drug problem?
I don't know.
Does your father still not like him?
They're best friends.
They're best friends?
Yes.
Interesting. I'm absolutely shocked. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,800. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
Vanessa, then Dylan.
I thought that she handled it very well. I didn't need to go over all the details. She did that all for me.
Honestly, you know, it was a trade agreement, which it clearly states in the first part, you know, so I had the entire year.
I don't think that he could have sent me the payments. I had to keep
To either pay her back or train her, and she served me before the contract was even up.
crying and messaging him for it. I think court was where it needed to be settled.
All she wanted was the money back, but I told her I was completely available. Then she moved out of the area.
He's a great trainer, absolutely amazing trainer, hands down. Borrowing money, not the smartest decision.
Well, I think he could have handled the situation differently, but I think he was trying to do his best to get us out of a sticky situation.
You know, I think it's about time to find someone else.
Judy and Sarah.
I remember my law school days, Sarah. Not clearly, but I remember my law school days. And you know how important it is, I always say you should have a writing. But you're supposed to have a writing that's clear. And I know that there's a rule of law that if a contract or an agreement is ambiguous, that a third party can't figure out, fact finder can't figure out what the intent of the parties was. Was it a training agreement, which is what he said, which is a lot of baloney? Was it a loan? That you're allowed to go beyond that contract. So your experience in law school is much closer.
I did just study this, so it's true that if a fully integrated agreement, meaning that it's clear, the meeting of the minds between parties is clear to a third-party fact finder, then usually outside evidence is not allowed because you clearly have what the meeting of the minds of the parties was. However, in a case like this, when it's more ambiguous or the terms are ambiguous or you're not quite clear what the meeting of the minds was for, a loan, like you said, or training, you're allowed to bring in outside evidence to gap fill those sort of ambiguous
And to
terms.
figure out what the intent of the parties was.
Exactly. So for that exact reason, but I can appreciate that she had enough wherewithal to know that she should have something written. Maybe next time she'll make it just a little clearer for a judge.
Thank you.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.
Credits. Audio description by description.
He'd gotten a restraining order against me.
Against you.
I sent him a letter saying that I wanted payment.
This letter threatens to go to his boss to get him fired. That's what that says. That's what you were threatening.
This is Judy Justice. Herman and Tina Smoody are suing their former son-in-law, Dalton McDonald, for unpaid loans.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge. Case 2082, Smoody versus McDonald.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. and Mrs. Smoody, the defendant used to be married to your daughter.
Yes, Your Honor.
And according to what I've read, they were married for about 5 years.
Yes.
The thrust of your claim is that he owes for a couple of things, for rent and the balance of a truck. That's your lawsuit against him. I'd like to know, do you know the date of their marriage?
3/16/2011.
And your ex-wife's first name?
Jacqueline.
And when did you and your former wife separate?
In 2020.
And you had 2 children. How old are they now?
They are 5 and 8.
And who has custody of the children?
Dalton has physical, and they have joint custody.
Just a second. So he has custody of the 2 younger children?
Yes.
That's a yes. How long have you had custody of the 2 children?
Since July of last year.
At some point during the marriage, there was a truck purchased.
Yes.
Who purchased the truck?
Dalton purchased the truck. I co-signed for it.
And when was it purchased? Month and year?
June of 2017.
Was that the only car
Yes.
that they had?
Yes.
So that was a family car.
Yes.
And in 2017, was your daughter working?
Yes.
So both parents worked. And both parents, I assume, pooled their money and I assume made car payments.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that correct? Both. And then they separated in 2020, and at that time, the children came to live with you.
Correct.
And you took the truck
Yes.
by agreement with your now ex-wife.
Yes.
In 2020, who made the car payments?
My husband did.
Is that correct?
Yes. I made all of the car payments on that vehicle, all of them, from the time it was purchased until we paid it off.
Okay, so what you're telling me is from 2017, you made all the car payments.
That's correct.
Did your daughter and son-in-law make any of those payments?
Not directly, but they paid toward the balance of the money that they were.
You paid for the truck
That's correct.
since 2017, since they
correct.
were married,
Yes.
with no reimbursement.
I took payments out of my daughter's check.
Just be very, very careful with me, sir.
Yeah.
I want you to be very careful with me. I read that, what we call in Yiddish, Bubbermeises in here, that you took money out of your daughter's check. Bubbermeises, it means grandma's tale. It means it's not true. It means it doesn't sound right to me. I read it in here. Don't try to repeat it here because that won't be good for you. Okay, I'm going to believe you if you show me copies of her checks that you made to her with withdrawals from money she owed you. That's all I want to see. Do you have that?
I do not.
Not, of course not. Now, he has the truck, and this was clearly either a gift or a marital debt. Either one of those two things. It's either a gift or a marital debt. It was a family car that was used by your daughter, her husband, the grandchildren, with, according to you, no reimbursement, according to you, except this ridiculous reimbursement from your daughter's check, which I don't believe, so I'm not even going into it, with no reimbursement 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. And when your daughter and the defendant separated in 2020, according to him and according to you, he took the truck and the children. And that was with her consent or not?
Yes, it was.
With her consent. Is that so far right? That's what you're telling me.
It's accurate.
Right. Did you intervene in the divorce proceeding and say that there is money owed, marital debt owed, and part of the marital debt is this loan on the truck?
No.
No. The answer is no, you did not. It would also be fair to say that you don't know how much, according to you, she paid for the truck.
I do, Your Honor. I have
Well-
that ledger that I have. I would go to her each week and say, Jacqueline, how much can I take toward the loan? And that's how much I would take off each week.
All you have to do, sir, is show me. Otherwise, this is a whole bunch of nonsense.
Yeah.
It's a marital debt. You did not intervene in the divorce proceedings and say, listen, this is a debt that's still outstanding, whatever it is, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. You didn't do that. Now, the only thing that you can say to me with regard to this truck business is if you had, had an agreement with the defendant in 2017 to pay the truck. And be very careful, because what you've told me is he didn't make any payments to you from 2017 ever.
He made some payment.
Just a second. Interesting. Show me where he made payments. Did you give him a receipt for payments?
No, this is a small town, and
It's not a small town, it's a
Well,
family, sir. It's not a small.
I do have the ledger.
I'm not interested in the ledger you created. It's self-serving and therefore inadmissible and created for the purpose solely of this litigation and not created at the same time that the event took place. I might even cut you a little slack if you had a ledger, a book with entries in it at different times from 2017 in different ink, with a day, how much was paid back on the loan. I guarantee you do not have that. You have a very nice piece of white paper that you created for me. Is that correct? That is correct.
That is accurate.
Okay, so I'm not interested in your ledger. That's not a ledger. That's a document prepared for the purposes of litigation. So I want you to tell me what conversation you had and when with Mr. McDonald about paying for the truck.
Caption, coming up.
They bought this boat from you.
Accurate.
And how much did you sell it to them for?
$2,500.
Did they pay you for it?
No, part of that was put on the ledger, and part of it was cash.
You know I'm not buying your whole story.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Herman, Tina, and Dalton.
Herman and Tina Smoody claim their former son-in-law, Dalton McDonald, owes for unpaid loans.
Now, I want you to tell me what conversation you had and when with Mr. McDonald about paying for the truck.
That was from the very beginning because I was paying all their bills.
Just a sec. I don't care whether you were paying their bills. I understand you were paying all their bills because they came to live with you for a brief period of time because they were evicted for whatever reason, and that was sometime in 2016. Okay. So I understand that you were paying their bills. Well, sometimes that's what parents do. They pay their bills.
We were paying their bills because they had no checking account.
That doesn't matter to me. I want to know your conversations with, where did it take place? Because you're not suing your daughter, you're suing him.
The conversation was when we rented the farm for them, which I know is not with the truck, but the landlord would not let them rent from them because they had terrible credit.
We'll get to the rent later. Stick with the truck. Don't talk to him when I'm asking him questions.
Well, the truck was the same thing. We put that on the ledger then, or on the running total, and they agreed. They both agreed that they were going to pay us off.
Okay.
He came over on Labor Day weekend, and I showed him the ledger, which he saw all the time.
No. Don't tell me what he saw. Don't tell me what he saw. If what you're saying is you showed him the ledger when he came over with the boys,
yes,
and he was going back to Minnesota.
Right.
And he brought the boys to see you to say goodbye?
Correct.
Okay, so far, it's very nice. You have a reasonable relationship with him, and certainly your daughter was clearly overwhelmed because courts do not usually split up children, so they must have felt that the children's best interests would be served if they remained with their father. Clearly what happened, the father came over to you to let you say goodbye to the children, and when he came over to let you say goodbye to the children, let me understand what you're saying to me. What you said to him was, not thank you for taking over this responsibility. Your daughter had more children than she could take care of, physically or financially, right? Clearly.
Yes.
Clearly. So what you want me to believe that two nice people who took in their daughter with her two kids and a husband and bought a truck and made arrangements for them to have some place to live, that these two nice people, when he came over, because your daughter couldn't take care of her children, and he brought them to say goodbye, you said, it's very nice. I want you to take a look at this ledger and see how much money you owe me. That's what you're asking me to believe, right? I'm going to let you live with that fantasy that I believe that.
And so I did give him the balance of what he owed me on the rent.
No.
And on the truck.
Nice.
And
he
he looked me in the eye, he shook my hand and said, Jerry, I promise I'm not going to screw you on this. I'm going to make those payments.
Make payments for what?
On the rent and on the truck.
Okay. Did you have that conversation with him?
No, I did not, Your Honor. The conversation was when I came up there the last time, Jerry was trying to sell his fishing boat, so I posted it on Facebook, and I sold it for him.
In what month and year?
That would have been September of 2020. After selling the boat, he gave me $1,200 for helping him.
How much did he sell the boat for?
It was $4,700.
So that was after you'd already moved?
Correct.
With the children?
Yep.
Okay. He helped you sell the boat for $4,700? Just answer my question.
No.
Did you give him $1,200?
No. He bought that boat from me a year prior to that. He had it.
So they bought this boat from you?
Accurate.
When?
That would have been in the spring of 2019.
And how much did you sell it to them for?
$2,500.
Did they pay you for it?
No, part of that was put on the ledger, and part of it was cash.
You know I'm not buying your whole story. I'm not buying your whole story because what
Your Honor, I'm telling you the honest to God truth.
No, I don't think so. I don't think that I would have sold people who had no credit, who couldn't buy themselves a truck, so you had to co-sign for the only means of transportation that they had, who couldn't pay for their rent, who couldn't pay their bills because of their bad credit. I don't believe this whole scenario about selling them a leisure boat for $2,500. is mind-boggling that you would think that an intelligent person like me would accept that. Okay, forget the truck. You have the truck now.
Yes.
Okay. You haven't finished your story with me, so sold the boat, and he gave you $1,200.
Correct. I gave him the $1,200 back, which made us even on the truck payment, and he gave me the title. Tina signed it, and then I brought it back to Minnesota and put it in my name.
Okay. Who signed it?
Tina signed it.
My name was on it as well.
Your name?
Yes.
As joint owners with him?
Yep.
Co-signer.
Oh, interesting. In what month did Mrs. Smoody?
Yes.
Sign over the car to you?
The same day that I gave Jerry the $1,200, that would have been in September.
Now, do you remember the $1,200?
No, it was $1,000 that he paid toward the loan when I sold the boat for him.
Okay.
And it was his boat that I sold for him.
Okay. You did not create this as a marital debt. It absolutely was a marital debt. So I'm dismissing that portion of your claim that deals with the truck. Now, let's deal with the rent. The rent that you're talking about was rent in what property?
The farmhouse that they rented.
From when to when?
2016, November 2020.
And over the years that they lived there as a couple.
Yes.
The rent was paid to a landlord.
Correct.
By you.
Yes.
Is that right?
Correct.
And they, your daughter and her husband, would give you cash, checks, or whatever to cover the rent.
Yep.
Yes.
And how much did they give you to cover the rent?
When we started out, rent was $800, and later on he raised it to $900. We never made it a set amount each week. They gave us what they could. And we've done this before in the past, and they've always paid us back.
Well, then you should have sued them and listed all of this as a marital debt in the process of their divorce. So it could all have been...
We're handling Jacqueline in another way.
You what?
We're handling Jacqueline alone.
I don't understand what that means.
Well, you're saying it was marital.
Just a second. Does that mean that you've already served your daughter with a summons?
Not yet, no.
Of course not. Of course not. And you did know when they were divorcing. Yeah. You did know when they were divorcing. I'm not buying anything of this lawsuit, most of which, at least the rent part, is totally stale. I'm just curious, Mr. and Mrs. Smoody, somebody wants to answer this question for me. Mr. McDonald has custody of your two young grandsons, who I assume that you were close to because they lived with you in your house. And you seem like
live with us. The two boys came back to live with us.
From when to when?
December of 2021 until July of 2022. 6 months we had them.
Just a second, 2022. Was there a court proceeding?
No.
But then in July, they went back with their father.
That's accurate.
And they've been with their father since?
Yes.
Okay, so the boys lived with you for 6, 7 months.
Right.
Was that an acrimonious transfer?
Caption coming up.
That's what you meant when you said, any employer that has gone through all that paperwork and red tape, as I have, will do anything to avoid it. The anything is firing the employee.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Herman, Tina, and Dalton.
Herman and Tina Smoody are accusing their former son-in-law, Dalton McDonald, of refusing to pay back loans.
Was that an acrimonious transfer, or was it something that you both...
What happened there was he called my husband to see if
No, don't tell me what he said to your husband.
Okay,
I will tell you then. He called me in December and asked me if I would please take the two boys. I told him, I will take them, Dalton, if you start making regular payments.
Oh, well, we're out of the money business now, sir. What you're saying is from 2017, when the children were in his custody, your daughter may have been there, but they were in joint custody, and then he maintained custody of the children, and during the time he maintained custody of the children, there was no question whatsoever that he was not paying you back money. He did not make any payments to you. Occasional here and there, we don't keep records. All of a sudden, now you have the boys with you. And then in July, he comes back and he takes the boys back. All I asked you was whether that was an acrimonious, which is an unpleasant, or a harmonious transfer of the children. Mr. Smoody was in July.
In July, it was acrimonious because at that point, he'd gotten a restraining order against me.
Against you?
Against me while we had the children. Because I sent him a letter saying that I wanted payment, and he went and got a restraining order against me because they took that as a threat.
I'd like to see the letter, please, Kevin.
Herman hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
And this is what needs to happen moving forward.
That's correct.
You need to mail me $200 on the 1st of every month and $200 on the 15th, starting March 1st, 2022. If I do not get these payments on time, the following will happen, which is, you know, you could say, I'm going to sue you, right? I'm going to sue you, but that's not what you say. You say, I will go to your boss and talk to them about garnishing your wages. Any employer that has gone through all the paperwork and red tape as I have will do anything to avoid it. So that's a threat. What you're saying is, I'm going to call your boss and tell him that I'm going to sue you, and then your boss is going to have to go through all the red tape of what it means to have a garnish on your salary. You have to go through accounting, and they have to deduct it. And no boss wants to do that, which is in effect say, so either you pay me or your boss is going to fire you. That's what you meant when you said, any employer that has gone through all that paperwork and red tape, as I have, will do anything to avoid it. The anything is firing the employee. The only thing that
you can legally fire somebody.
Just a second. Whether you can legally fire them or not, that's what you were threatening. That's what that said. So we got an order of protection against you.
Correct.
And?
Then I didn't fight it because I didn't anticipate having any conversations or contact with him.
When you wrote this letter,
yes,
you had the boys.
Yes.
Right. Not before.
No.
Not before. And he had had the boys for some time alone.
3 months.
He had had the boys for some time alone. Okay, let's go back to my original question, which was, when the boys went back to their father, was it acrimonious or harmonious?
It was not good.
Well, so tell me your version of what happened.
The reason it was acrimonious is because he knew very well that once we got him, we put him on a strict schedule. 8 o'clock, brush your teeth, 8:15, pajamas, 8:30, bed.
Where was your daughter living at this time?
With us.
Yeah, just to say, if you're going to interrupt him because you want to get it out,
I'm sorry,
that's not going to be good for you.
She had a room at our house.
Just a second. So your daughter was living with you. So what you're telling me was your daughter was in the wind someplace.
Accurate.
Okay. You know, you had her for a long time. He only had her for 5 years. And I can understand the sadness if your daughter is in the wind and not being responsible, sir. But that doesn't mean he has to shoulder all the burden. Right now, he's shouldering all the burden of supporting the 2 children, which I assume you're doing. They're living with you. And so are you working?
Yes, I am.
And he's working. Your daughter is not.
She's working 2 jobs.
She always has.
If she's working 2 jobs, why was she in a room?
She wasn't renting. She was living there free.
Okay. So now let's get back to this acrimonious transfer by the children back in July.
Dalton called me, or called the kids.
Okay, so he called the children.
After bedtime.
Okay.
Called my wife's phone 4 times. Ring, 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 ring. And she wouldn't answer because kids were in bed. And then he called my phone twice. The second time, I have an old flip phone. I flipped it, walked in, because now I hear the boys are awake. I let them talk to the boys. And then I took the phone back, and I said some naughty things to him and hung it up.
What did you say naughty things to him for?
Because I was very angry at him. Can I use some swear words that I used when I told him?
No, I assume you used some terrible words.
Yeah,
but
I just told him, don't call me anymore.
Is there any reason that you discussed with your wife why she didn't answer the phone?
Because the boys were already in bed. He had done that before.
You already told me that you heard the boys, so you took the phone into his room.
No, after the phone calls, they woke up.
Is what you're telling me that the first time that he tried to talk to the boys, that you or your wife didn't answer the phone?
I think it probably happened once or twice prior, and then we told him, don't do it anymore.
Okay, fine.
And this time we were fed up.
Fine. So that's when he said, I'm coming to take the boys.
No.
Well, when did he say he was coming to take the boys?
Not until July. Jacqueline told us that Dalton was going to be taking the kids once they got out of school.
Okay, I'm going to take the pain out of this case, and I'm going to do it relatively quickly. I think, Mr. and Mrs. Smoody, that this lawsuit was very ill-advised. The defendant doesn't owe you any money. He doesn't owe you any money because if there was money owed, it was a marital debt, and it should have been taken up at the time of the divorce, listed as a marital debt, and then it could have been fixed by the judge who approved the divorce how much and by whom is owed money. You chose not to do that. It was only after a very acrimonious set of circumstances, roughly 5.5 years later, after this truck was purchased, that you chose to exercise any prerogatives with regard to a debt, except this letter, which threatens to go to his boss to get him fired if you don't start making payments, and that was only after the 2 children came to live with you and were sort of overwhelmed. You have to understand, Mr. McDonald, who I think probably is trying, he's got the 2 boys. It got very complicated, but it's not a lawsuit, and I would make nice with him. He's got 2 children that you probably want to have some connection with, and this lawsuit certainly doesn't help that. Well, anyway, for all the reasons that I've stated, your lawsuit's dismissed. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Herman.
He owes us that money. He admitted he owed us the money.
I think the judge was absolutely correct.
He promised he was going to pay us the money back.
I don't owe Jerry any money.
Kids are irresponsible, have no sense of honor, duty, respect, responsibility, nothing.
Really should be a family thing, and maybe one day it can go back to it.
This was a great case that explains why a lot of cases in civil court have a statute of limitations before you can bring a certain kind of case, because here it was hard for us to understand why they would not have requested that money back earlier. So when you ask for it now, years down the line where so much has happened, court's not so likely to feed into that because you don't know what the real motivation is behind it.
I agree. I think it's really foolish of them, especially since their ex-son-in-law has total custody of these 2 little boys, for them not to maintain reasonable relationship with him.
It was a good showing, though, that if you do give money to your daughter, son, and their significant other, and they do get divorced, you should follow that divorce proceeding. So if you do have a claim,
a legitimate debt
or claim, then
List it.
that's the place where you should bring it.
Absolutely.
Title: Judy Justice.
Are you having a family dispute? Go to judyjustice.tv.
A video.
How you hit me in the face?
Because I want my dog.
Explain that to me.
When I barge in, I'm just like, give me my dog so I can leave. I never once put my hands on him.
That's what happened when foolish young people decide to own a dog together.
This is Judy. Jasmine Jones is suing her ex-boyfriend, Joshua Caldwell, for the costs of a French bulldog.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches Judge Judy.
Hello, Judge. Case 2120, Jones versus Caldwell.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Judy turns to Jasmine.
Miss Jones, you and the defendant were in a romantic relationship that started about a year ago, more than a year ago. And then you decided to do one of the most foolish things that people do when they sort of fall in love, sometimes temporarily. You decided to buy a dog together. According to you, the relationship went south, and now we have this adorable dog that you want back. You say the dog is really yours. You were the one who was its primary caretaker. You paid for a vet bill. Mr. Caldwell said that's not the case. The dog was always supposed to be his. He purchased it, and it's your argument that if Mr. Caldwell is allowed to keep the dog, that you be reimbursed for the vet bills that you paid.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you and Mr. Caldwell live together?
Yes.
From when to when?
From February 1st of this year to September 3rd.
And in what month did you decide to get the dog's name is Scrappy?
Yes.
Scrappy.
We got Scrappy on January 18th.
So before you moved in together?
Yes.
Where were you living?
I was going back and forth from my mom's house to Joshua's. I already had a key in January. I was staying there.
Okay, but you were living with your mother.
Yes.
In January.
Yes.
And who was the breeder of this dog? Did you buy the dog from the breeder or from?
From the breeder, Andrew.
Now, Andrew was sitting over there on the defendant's side, so I assume that Andrew was a friend of your boyfriend's.
Yes.
Stand up, Andrew.
Frederick holds Scrappy.
I have a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
That's Scrappy.
Yes.
Scrappy is about 8 months old?
He just hit a year about 2-3 weeks ago.
Oh, so still a puppy.
Yes.
Looks very healthy. When Scrappy was purchased, was the amount paid for him the same as was paid for the other dogs in Scrappy's litter?
No.
How many puppies were in the litter?
5.
Did you charge Mr. Caldwell or Miss Jones for Scrappy?
Mr. Caldwell.
How much did you charge him?
$3,000, Your Honor.
Who paid you?
Joshua.
Mr. Caldwell, did he pay by check or cash?
Cash and Zelle payments.
Did you ever see Miss Jones in the purchasing process?
Yes, I seen her.
Tell me about it.
At the time when they came to pick up the dog, she was his girlfriend, but there was no connection with me. And
Was that the first time you had met her?
I've seen her around because we would work at the gym together. We're both personal trainers, so I would see her around the gym sometimes.
Had you discussed with your friend Joshua?
Yes.
While you were working with him in your personal training at the gym, had you discussed with him getting a dog?
Yes.
When?
I can't recall the exact date, but I know that he had seen that I had bought my dog and that I was getting into the business. So he contacted me early in, say, 2020, stating that, hey, I want to eventually, when you have a litter, get one of your dogs from you.
Do you remember what month that was in?
I'd say, well, Scrap was born October 2021. So around then, maybe a couple months before, when I let him know that the female was pregnant. So maybe around July, August.
Okay, of 2021.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so that was well before the two of you lived together.
Yes.
Did you ever hear from Miss Jones? Did she ever call you before you saw her when they both came to pick up Scrappy?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, you can sit down now. Cute. Miss Jones, who paid for Scrappy?
Me and Joshua.
Show me.
Jasmine produces a document.
I have here Zelle and Venmo payments to Joshua. The first one is in February, and then he didn't start asking me for large amounts.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on.
Judy reviews it.
These don't look like anything like payments for the dog. What are those payments? $100, $500, $350 in June? What were those for?
They were all payments towards Scrappy. He started asking me for $200, $350 at
You mean
that
after
time.
you already had the dog?
Yes.
Because you got the dog.
Yeah, but he didn't pay for him straight up. And his friend told us that we could pay for him at will. He didn't give him money the first day that we picked him up.
Okay, I'll go back to you. How much money did Mr. Caldwell pay on the day he picked up the dog?
$0.
When was the first time he made a payment? Now you could stand up again.
Frederick rises.
He made a payment shortly after, within the first month, of about $300.
So in January, he made first payment.
Of $300.
And in January, there is no Zelle payment from you at all. When was the next payment? Do you recall?
I believe in March he paid another $200.
Well, do you have records of what you paid, sir?
Yes.
I'd like to see them. I just want to see what you paid and when you paid it. By the way, while he's looking for that, when you lived with Mr. Caldwell, did you both contribute to the rent?
My contribution to the rent was paying for the groceries, so I have all my receipts.
So the answer is you did not pay rent.
That was our deal.
But the answer is you did not pay rent.
No, ma'am.
Did you pay any utilities?
Only when he asked me for extra money to pay his phone bill or to pay for the Wi-Fi sometimes.
And when you paid for these extra things, Wi-Fi or his phone bill, did you pay by cash or did you pay by?
The extra charges in there that I didn't highlight. The ones that are $20, $30, those are for gas. The $70 one is for his card.
Well, I just want to know how you know the payment in July for $200, what it was for.
I was only giving him money at that time. For Scrappy, he started asking me for large amounts of money for him. So that's when I gave him those. He didn't ask me for anything towards bills for that apartment.
Is Scrappy totally paid for?
No.
How much is owed?
$2,300.
So the only amount that was paid so far was $700.
Yes, Your Honor.
Caption, coming up.
This is what happens, because relationships come and go. You know, 50% of the marriages in this country fail. So why would you think a relationship is going to last as long as a French bulldog?
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Jasmine, Joshua, and Frederick.
Jasmine Jones claims her ex-boyfriend, Joshua Caldwell, owes for the costs of a French bulldog. Joshua is countersuing for vandalism and an assault.
Okay, and this is an agreement that I, Joshua Caldwell, have agreed to buy Cashmere.
That was his name originally.
From Frederick Wright. Once the dog's paid in full, I will receive full ownership rights. Frederick Wright will remain the rightful owner of Cashmere until I complete $3,000 in payments, right?
Correct.
And both of you signed this, and this was in January of 2022. That's a reasonable What are you laughing at?
I'm not laughing, I'm just like, when did he even sign that? Because I was with him the day that we picked him up, and he never showed me any contract.
Well, but this is reasonable because he's not transferring any rights to him. He's going to remain the owner. He's the owner of the dog until the full amount is paid for the dog of $3,000. Right now, he said that the only thing was paid was $700. Go ahead, now I'll hear you. Now I got it. Now you can sit down.
When I was present for us picking up Scrappy and purchasing him, it was word of mouth contract. There was no paper signing at all. He didn't even show me a paper.
And?
And he showed me him. He asked me if I liked him. I said yes. And he said he would go half on him with me.
Okay.
And I said, okay. And it was that same day. I get off of work, he picks me up, we go see Scrappy. Didn't know we were gonna get him that day. We ended up getting him that day. He tells me, okay, it's just gonna be $3,500. They walk to the back of the room and start talking and making an agreement. Come back out.
So just a second. So they went in the back of the room. You were not there. That's what you just told me. They went in the back to make an agreement, and then they came out. That's what...
Whitney.
He tells me it's going to be $3,500. They walk to the back of the room, make an agreement.
Right, go ahead.
And then he comes back and we take Scrappy home. The next day, he texts me early in the morning and tells me that Scrappy might have gotten a bee sting or something because he was limping and he doesn't know what happened. I picked him up from his job that afternoon after I got off of work.
Okay, so you picked up the dog from his work.
Yes, picked him up and I went straight to my mom's house to get clothes because I was going back to his house. And I was examining Scrappy, no swollen paw, no bee sting. Then he said that he probably clipped his nail on the tile, and I'm just like looking at his paw and I'm like, there's nothing wrong with it, but he's limping. Those were his stories. Still don't know what happened. Scrappy wasn't showing any signs of like pain, he was just limping. So I was like, we need to take him to the vet, like he needs to get checked out.
So you took him to the vet, okay,
Yes.
and?
The vet ended up telling us that he had a fracture.
You can't tell me what the vet told you. I'll look at the records from the vet.
Okay, sorry. I have the vet bills and the reports right here.
Jasmine hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Did you pay any part of these vet bills, sir?
Yes.
Which parts?
I didn't have any record of it because I didn't see it coming. I honestly didn't know what happened to his elbow. Andrew was there as well. We were both kind of like, we don't know. So I found out after going to the vet that Frenchies have a ligament in their elbow, and this happens often.
No one is suggesting that anyone abused the dog.
Okay. Oh, I'll just.
That's not the suggestion. My question was a simple one. Did you pay any of these vet bills? They're about $1,600.
Yes. I just don't
How much
have
did you
any
pay?
record of it.
What?
'cause
He's lying.
I didn't ask you to interrupt. You have to understand, Miss Jones, you can't have this dog. First of all, this dog doesn't belong to either one of you. This dog belongs to him until the dog is paid for. So far, all he's gotten for the dog is $700. $500 of that he paid for. But right now, I can't award ownership of the dog, but there's a contract that until this dog is paid for, the dog belongs to Mr. Wright. First name?
Frederick.
Frederick. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Simple. So you have a friend who has Frenchies, then I suggest that you go with your original plan, which is to buy a dog yourself.
Not
Now,
the same.
you have no proof that you paid any of these vet bills.
I just have the medicine with my name on it.
Well, the medicine with your name on it doesn't help. $1,600 in vet bills. And you have physical custody of the dog now, right?
Right.
And your agreement with Mr. Wright is that you don't get ownership of that dog until the dog is paid for. Yeah, I mean, I can't enforce your contract with regard to Miss Jones. The dog was not paid for.
I've already offered to pay him for the remainder of whatever Josh hasn't paid him.
The contract is with Mr. Caldwell, not you. So that's what happened when foolish young people decide to own a dog together. And they're not married, they don't even live together. This is what happens, because the relationships come and go. You know, 50% of the marriages in this country fail. So why would you think a relationship is going to last as long as a French bulldog? It's sort of ridiculous, and I've advised against it for the last 25 years. Nobody wants to heed this. So I'm faced with a situation where, when did the two of you break up?
I left it on September 3rd.
Well, now we're a couple of months, but...
She didn't leave. She had to be, well, this is going to go into the assault charge.
I don't,
But
listen,
she had
I
to
don't
be
care.
escorted
I don't
out.
care, whatever. I don't care. You want
clothes.
shh. I'll get to the counterclaim in a second. I will give it the same attention as I've given her claim for the dog. She's not getting the dog back. You have to, however, pay her the $1,600 that she paid for the vet. Do you understand? So that part of your petition is granted. Was the bill all paid?
I'm still paying it off currently. We both agreed to apply for care credit together, and whoever...
But it's your bill that you have to pay. If you work in accounting, you have a check, you don't want that garnished, so you have to pay it.
I am paying it.
You have to pay it, okay. And he's going to reimburse you for that, $1,600. All right, now let's get to this counterclaim and make short shrift of it. Money owed for assault and vandalizing personal belongings. Let's start with the assault. Allegedly, the assault took place when the plaintiff came home intoxicated.
I'm a kickboxer. On September 3rd, she came to my fight and she dropped me off at home.
That's a lie.
If you say it again, what I'm going to do, if you interrupt Miss Jones, again, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dismiss your claim and you'll pay for these vet bills yourself. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Go ahead.
She didn't like the people that was at my fight there, and so she had a couple drinks. She got to my house, and she started to fight with me, and I tried to remove myself from the fight, and then she started getting violent. So then I called her family to come pick her up, and they showed up maybe an hour later. In that hour, I tried to remove myself to another room. She went and got scissors and started to cut my shoes up. Then I had to try to grab my shoes and scrap and go into the opposite room, and she came in there and was trying to fight me. All the while all this happening, I'm recording her on video to make sure that
You have that recording?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Caption, coming up.
This would be me asking her just to leave. This whole thing is out of retaliation.
What are you about to do? Why are you hitting me in the face?
Record me? Because I want my dog?
Fighting me. She won't stop fighting me. I've asked her to leave.
Explain that to me.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Jasmine and Joshua.
Jasmine Jones is accusing her ex-boyfriend, Joshua Caldwell, of owing vet bills for a French bulldog. Joshua is countersuing, claiming Jasmine assaulted him.
Okay. You have that recording?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
This would be me asking her just to leave. This whole thing is out of retaliation.
Why are you hitting me in the face?
Record me? Because I want my dog?
Fighting me. She won't stop fighting me. I've asked her to leave. Your stuff is in bags.
You're such a... Josh.
Okay. There you go again. There you go again. On camera hitting me.
Jasmine lunges at the camera.
On camera. You see her hitting me? There you go.
Explain that to me.
I wasn't dropping him off. We were still...
I don't care what you're dropping off. Explain that video to me.
I was pushing the phone out of my face because he had me on live and was saying my full name. He cut off parts of it.
Now, I just want to know what happened here. This was clearly you were going after him. I don't know whether you...
knocking the phone out of his hand because he was saying my full name, saying I was crazy. I had already packed my stuff. I was leaving. We walk in the house. He calls me a dumb bee and then goes straight to the bathroom. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna leave. Like, I'm not gonna deal with this. I had Scrappy by my side. I was packing what I could, taking it downstairs. I walk back up. He goes, oh, you're leaving? And he snatches Scrappy and locks him in the bedroom. And then when he goes to open the door is when I barge in. I'm just like, give me my dog so I can leave. And
well, I want to know what the violent stuff was about.
He was recording me, saying my name.
He was recording you.
Saying I was crazy and I wouldn't get out of the house. And I was like, stop recording me. And I was just hitting the phone out of his hand. I never once put my hands on him. He's already hit me and choked me in the past, so I would not go there to provoke him to hurt me again.
Did you ever report to anyone that he hurt you?
I told my mom.
Did you ever report?
No, I didn't.
Mr. Caldwell, were you injured?
I mean, I'm a fighter. I'm not gonna...
Were you injured is my question.
No.
Her family came?
Yeah.
The police were not called. You called her family instead. Did you pick her up? Stand up, please. You're a mother?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And this incident happened on what date when he called you?
It was about 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
On...
Shh. Don't interrupt. On what date?
Labor Day.
Did you go to Mr. Caldwell's home?
Yes, I did.
What time did you get there?
Probably almost 4.
Had Mr. Caldwell ever called you before with regard to picking up your daughter, or that she was... No.
No.
So this was a first?
Yes.
Now, when you got there, I want you to describe what you saw.
She was crying, she was upset, and I told her, come on, let's just go. And she said, no, I want to get my dog. I can't leave my dog here. He's been violent in the past. I've seen it. I told her, don't ever leave him with him again after a beach incident where he like hit him. I mean, he's a kickboxer, like he said. He doesn't hit the dog like a normal person would just tap a dog. No, this was back in July. He was a puppy, he was a baby. And I was so furious when I saw that. He only did it because the dog snapped at him, because he was angrily packing him up into a dog carrier.
Would you do me a favor? Would you describe to me your daughter's condition?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Describe to me, you have to understand, your daughter cannot get the dog. The dog does not belong to the defendant.
Okay.
The dog belongs to Mr. Wright.
What happens to the $1,310 she spent for the dog?
Well,
she sent that money to him.
I have to tell you something. I don't see anything in your daughter's evidence that suggests to me that any payments that she made to him had anything to do with the dog. Anything to do with the dog. Mr. Wright was very clear. He said he received $700 for the dog. There were 2 payments that were identified in his register as payments for Scrappy. There is absolutely nothing in your daughter's register that she gave me of these odd payments of $160 or $70 say Scrappy on it. Not one. So I've already made a determination of where the dog is staying. The dog is staying wherever Mr. Wright wants the dog to stay, because he owns the dog.
Okay.
Understand?
Yes.
So now that's your daughter's case. I finished that part of the case. What I want to know is he has a counterclaim, and his counterclaim was that your daughter, while in an intoxicated state, assaulted him. Some of that I saw on this video. Some of it you saw on the video. Mr. Caldwell was honest, because it doesn't look as if he was injured as a result of that, and I'm absolutely not discounting the fact that no one should put their hands on somebody else, but an assault requires an injury. And so if this is is that dog sleeping?
No,
that is so funny.
He grunts all the time.
That is so funny. So, Mr. Caldwell, can you show me what damage you allege Miss Jones caused your property? That's the next thing. You said an assault, which never happened because there was no physical injury. Would you mind telling me, please, what property specifically and photographs of that property?
I'll have it.
Okay, so your counterclaim's dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,600 for the vet bills that she paid or is obligated to pay on her credit.
It's not assault unless I get hurt.
Yes, it's not an assault unless there is an injury.
So if I was
that it's an
beating
attempt,
her up at her
just a
house?
second, that's an attempted, sir, it's an attempted assault. Do you understand? If an assault has a specific definition, I believe she probably attempted to assault you when she touched you in an unauthorized manner.
She was punching me in the face. That's not a...
Show me picture of any injury. Show me. No, I didn't see that in the video, sir. I saw her lunging towards you. Do you understand? I saw her lunging towards you.
All right.
I didn't see her hit you. I didn't see a photograph of any injury. I didn't see a police report where you reported any injury.
Report incidents with her being drunk and fighting other men.
Oh, okay. Did you understand what I said? An assault requires injury. An attempted assault does not. And attempted assault is a crime. But it's a crime which I choose, because of the circumstances here, not to consider and not to award you any cash award because you were not injured in any way. So unless you have photographs of the pair of shoes that you say she cut or something else, I'm dismissing your counterclaim. We got it? Good. Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,600. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
Scrappy was not just like a dog or a pet, like he was my support.
I mean, it was fair. Obviously, she had nothing to do with the dog.
It's expected because he lied the entire time that we were together.
And that's a lie.
Him not to have given him any of the money that I put towards Scrappy.
She literally just got all the transactions that we've ever done between each other on Venmo or Zelle and brought that to court.
Now I just think like he was pocketing that money the entire time.
And that's why I was dismissed, because it wasn't valid at all.
Sarah.
So I disagree with you a little bit on the countersuit of the assault charge. I have a more in law, So assault versus battery, as far as I learned, was assault was just the imminent threat of a harm. You're fearing for your life or offensive contact of some sort, whereas battery is the actual offensive touching. There has to be some sort of contact. So if we're ruling by common law, which I know we're not bound by any particular state's jurisdiction, I would have awarded him something for the assault claim.
My training is in New York, and in New York there is no crime of battery. My training was it's assault, and for an assault there has to be a physical touching and injury, and an attempted assault is placing someone in fear of imminent physical injury. I think you're probably right that there are jurisdictions that are different. We didn't actually see any contact between her and him.
And he was honest.
He
said, you know, obviously I didn't have any injuries, but...
Right, just as he didn't have any evidence to support the fact that she had destroyed or damaged some of his personal property. Unfortunate, but you make a good point with regard to the assault.
Title: Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.
When the airbags deployed, it crushed all my side, so both my arms were bleeding.
Did you have a driver's license? Don't speak to him. He could have killed her. I watched you when you walked in. You came in smiling. You're not smiling now.
This is Judy Justice. Paulina Cardozo is suing Norma Jimenez and her 17-year-old son, Christopher Espinoza, for damages resulting from a car crash.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Case 2054, Cardozo versus Jimenez Espinoza.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Cardozo, it is your claim that the defendants are responsible for an automobile accident.
Yes.
That both totaled your car and injured you and your child.
Yes, Your Honor.
When did this accident happen? What date?
On May 6th, Friday, 2022.
What time of the day?
It was around 7:10, 7:20 a.m.
Where were you going?
I was going to drop off my son to his babysitter.
Then where were you going?
Work.
Is that your regular route?
Yeah.
Your last name is?
Espinoza.
How old are you?
17.
You were driving that morning?
Yeah.
Yeah is not an answer.
Yeah.
Yes is an answer. Who was in the car with you?
My little sister.
How old is she?
11.
Do you have a driver's license?
Now I do, yeah.
Did you, on May 6th, have a driver's license?
No.
I assume you were taking your sister to school,
Yes.
and then you were taking yourself to school.
Yes.
This was in May. How long had you been driving your sister to school?
6 months.
Where was your mother?
At work.
Did you drop her off at work first?
No.
How does she get to work?
Her own car.
Who owns the car that you were driving?
My mom.
So your mom has two cars.
Yes.
What other adults live in your house?
Just my mom.
Your mother,
Yes.
your sister,
Yeah.
and you.
Yeah.
When was the car purchased that you were driving with your sister?
It was a gift.
Who was it a gift to?
Me.
Whose name is it in?
My mom's.
When did you get it? Month and year. Don't speak to him. When did you get it?
January.
January of 2022.
Yes.
So that's why you had been driving your sister for 6 months.
Yes.
The car is in your name?
Yes, Your Honor.
You know that he has no right to drive a car.
He had a driver's permit.
I don't care if he had a permit. You know he has no right to drive a car with a minor in the car.
Well, he took some classes, and we were told by the instructor.
No, don't tell me what you were told by the instructor, madam. Your insurance company disclaimed on this if you had insurance because he's not allowed to drive a car. Is that correct?
Yes.
What insurance carrier do you have on your car?
AAA.
Who insures the car that he was driving?
AAA.
On your name?
Yes.
When he had this accident, the insurance company, AAA, disclaimed on the accident because he was driving the car.
Yes.
Did they drop you from your policy? Did they drop your policy?
No.
Did they raise your rates?
No, because I was changing insurance at that time when the accident happened.
So you had no insurance?
We had insurance.
Just look at me. On the 6th of May, do you have proof that there was insurance on the car that he was driving?
Yes, Your Honor.
What carrier?
AAA.
And when did you change carriers?
It was May 5th, but it wasn't going to be effected until the following week.
So you had no insurance?
I hadn't called AAA to let them know that I was changing insurance at that time.
Again, I don't believe. Okay.
I was changing.
Just a second. You have to understand, madam, that to make your life more comfortable so that you could go to work and your little girl could get to school, you let an unlicensed driver drive a car. You have to understand that because he could have killed her and the child. It's outrageous that you let your 17-year-old who didn't have a license drive your 11-year-old daughter, put them in a place where they were in harm's way. You're just very lucky that both of them weren't hurt. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. If you think I'm being harsh, sir, I watched you when you walked in. You thought this whole thing was a joke. You came in smiling. It's not a smiling thing. You did the wrong thing, and if you start doing the wrong thing when you're 17 years old, when you're 27 years old, your mother will come visit you someplace where you don't want to be. Do you understand?
I smile when I'm nervous.
Excuse me?
I smile when I'm nervous.
You smile when you're nervous. Yeah. Well, your mother smiles when she's nervous, too, because she was smiling, too.
Yeah.
When you walked in here. What, you're not smiling now. You mean you're not nervous now? You're not smiling now. Now you're not nervous. Now I would be nervous. If I were you, I would be nervous. See what I mean?
Yeah. No.
Tell me what happened 7:30 in the morning on the 6th of May, which was a school day and a work day.
Okay, yes, Your Honor. So I was driving straight like normal on East on Pleasant Valley. And as I was going on a green light into my intersection.
Do you have a photograph? Do you have any?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
And May 6th was a Friday, just so you know. May 6th was a Friday.
Yeah. Thanks.
Paulina hands photos to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She examines images of a child's bruised shoulder and contused arm, then of a damaged red car.
Your car is the red car?
Yes, Your Honor.
This doesn't tell me anything, actually. It just shows your car totally destroyed. Do you have a police report?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'd like to see a police report.
Yeah, and I'll put it so she can kind of see my car, his car.
Paulina hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
This is the diagram that the police prepared.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you were going straight?
Yes, Your Honor.
And he was making a left turn?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you were through the intersection?
Yes.
Looks as if you were through the intersection.
About to be. It was like in the middle of the intersection.
What kind of citations were you issued, sir?
Just without a license.
What?
Without a license.
Okay. I'm just letting you know, Ms. Jimenez, the plaintiff had visible injuries that the police noted. Do you understand that?
Yes.
The airbags went off?
All of them, Your Honor.
Other than the marks that you had on you as a result of the seatbelts and the airbags going off, did you have any other injuries?
So that was actually my son.
That was your son?
Yeah, that was my son because of the seatbelts. Mine were both of my arms because when the airbags deployed, it crushed all my side. So both of my arms were bleeding.
You were making a left turn?
Yeah.
She was going straight?
Yes.
You had a green light, but she was going straight and she had a green light. Do you understand?
Yeah.
That means you can't left turn. If she's going straight, that means she's got a green light. That's what it was. And you have to wait until she goes before you make a left turn.
Yeah.
Judy mocks Christopher's nod. He grins. Caption coming up.
Were they at the scene at the same time at any time?
No.
When your mother says that she asked Miss Cardoza, are you okay? That wasn't true.
No.
Was it true or it wasn't true?
And later today.
You have no proof here of anything. So I'm asking you, you want nothing or do you want your car back?
I want your $10,000.
I'd rather have my car back than nothing.
And
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Paulina, Norma, and Christopher.
Paulina Cardozo claims Norma Jimenez and her 17-year-old son, Christopher Espinoza, owe for damages resulting from a car crash.
okay. Now, when you got there, you started to yell at her. You want to tell me why? You want to tell me why you were yelling at her?
I didn't even yell at her. I got to the place, and then there was somebody waiting for me and told me that she had just hit them, like the person that there was a witness.
You can't tell me. Yeah.
There was somebody that saw
he hit her.
Boy, there was somebody that saw the accident, but that person unfortunately couldn't be here.
Okay.
But
I'm asking you why you were yelling at her. Did you have a conversation with her?
I never had a conversation with her. I just asked her, are you okay? And then she said, they're taking my son to the hospital. That's all she said. And when I got there, the firefighter told me.
No, don't tell me what anybody told you, madam. Don't tell me what anybody told you. You called your mother?
Yes.
You used your cell phone?
No.
How did you call her?
My sister.
You used your sister's?
Yes.
And she came right over?
Yes.
Miss Cardoza was there when your mother got there?
Yes.
You want to answer me? Did your mother and Miss Cardoza, were they at the scene at the same time at any time?
No.
Before she was taken to the hospital?
No.
When your mother says that she asked Miss Cardoza, are you okay? That wasn't true.
No.
Was it true or it wasn't true?
It was true.
It was true, so that well, how did she communicate with Miss Cardoza if she didn't ask her, if she wasn't there? I'm going to ask you again. Was your mother at the scene when Miss Cardoza was also at the scene?
Yes.
And did you tell your mother that the accident was Miss Cardoza's fault?
No.
What did you tell your mother?
That we got in a car accident.
She didn't ask you what happened? Come on.
Yes.
Come on. Your mother asked you what happened?
Yeah.
And what did you tell her?
What happened?
Well, let me hear what you told your mother happened.
I was going in East Pleasant Valley Road. I put my left turn signal to go to the left turn lane.
You were in the left turn lane?
Yes.
And?
I waited to turn and turn.
And?
I was there and she swerved in and hit me.
She what?
She swerved in and hit me.
She swerved and hit you while you were making a left turn. She swerved into you. That's what you told your mother?
Yes.
Yeah. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10,000. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Paulina, then Norma.
I feel like she was very fair.
To my understanding, what they have told me is like he was allowed to drive.
It's been a hardship for us.
And that's why I let him drive.
I was scared. I didn't know if he had broken something or something worse.
I only asked her, are you guys okay? Like, what happened? Somebody told me that it was you that hit them.
Till this day, it's haunting. My son doesn't like to get in the car anymore, so it's straining.
He wasn't even cited for the accident. He was cited for not having a license.
I think she thought it was my fault, and I feel like she still thinks it's my fault, but it was not my fault.
She was the one that hit him.
You need to have insurance, and you need to know how to drive.
I'm glad it's over.
Judy and Sarah.
This is a public service announcement to the governor of the state of California. Do everybody a favor. Propose legislation that mandates that if you drive without a license as an underage driver and you're caught and or have an accident, you are ineligible to get a driver's license until you're 25 years old. That would probably be a deterrent for some people. Something is wrong with the system. Those are my words for the day.
Case number 2061, Laura versus Burke. All parties, please step forward.
Michael Lara is suing car seller Donald Burke for a vintage car title.
Mr. Lara,
Yes, Your Honor.
you had a truck,
Yes.
and that truck was a 2007
Yes, Your Honor.
Nissan Frontier.
Correct.
When did you purchase it?
I purchased it in 2019
From whom?
from a private owner. I don't have his name, but I purchased it over on an auto app.
So you found it online?
Yeah.
So it's still online. How much did you pay for the car in 2019?
In 2010, I paid $10,000.
I don't believe that. Let's try it one more time, Mr. Lara. Exactly how much did you pay for the car in 2019?
$10,000, Your Honor.
Show me a bill of sale.
I don't have that bill of sale from back then.
Okay.
I have only the title that I had.
Okay. Let's assume for the moment that that's almost accurate because the truck is now worth
somewhere between $8,000 and $9,000.
So that would be a depreciation. So now it's worth $8,000.
Okay.
You decided to sell it.
Correct. To trade it?
And you put an ad online to sell it?
Yes, I did.
You, Mr. Burke, had a 1947 classic Chrysler sedan.
Yes.
When did you get that?
Beginning of the year,
Beginning of 20.
22.
And where did you get it from?
A car dealer had it for sale.
Car dealer where?
Montclair, California.
You remember the name of the car dealer?
No, ma'am, I don't.
But it was the beginning of 2022.
Yes.
And was it an ad online?
No, I was driving by and saw the car. I kind of liked the way it looked.
How much did you pay for it?
$12,500.
Do you have a bill of sale?
No.
That was just this year. Why don't you have a bill of sale?
I have the registration and title.
I don't need the registration and title. I need a bill of sale.
I don't have one.
Difference when you buy it from a private party, but if you buy, do you have, it was the beginning of January. How did you pay for the car?
Cash.
Cash. Do you have a withdrawal from your bank of $12,500 to show me?
No, I don't.
Well, how do you expect me to decide this case? You have a claim, you have a counterclaim. Nobody has any proof. How do you expect me to decide? Each of you is suing the other for $10,000 without any proof of anything. How do you expect me to decide that?
Correct, Your Honor.
You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
You got it?
Yes.
Caption coming up.
You have the title, you have the keys, you have the truck. Understand this, neither one of you are leaving here with a penny. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand?
No, I don't.
Judy shrugs. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Michael and Donald.
Michael Laura claims car seller Donald Burke owes him the title to a vintage car. Donald is countersuing, claiming Michael broke their agreement.
Okay. Do you have a car now?
Yes, I have a 2001 GMC truck.
No. You have his car?
Oh, yes, I have his car, yes.
You
Your Honor.
have his car?
Yes.
And you have his truck?
Yes.
Judy shrugs.
What do you want me to do?
I wasn't the one that started this.
Okay, Your Honor.
He doesn't have the title.
Well, he never produced the money that he was supposed to produce.
I have his title to his vehicle. He signed it over to me, and he gave me the keys as well.
Okay. I didn't ask you anything. Well, I want you have the title, you have the keys, you have the truck.
Correct, Your Honor.
My question to you is, you have the title to his car. He paid, let's assume he's correct, that he paid $12,500 for the car in the beginning of 2022. That car, which is a classic car, is now for sale, because I looked it up, I don't remember the numbers, for?
Between $18,000 and $60,000 on the high end of what I've seen.
Okay, so it's worth considerably more than what you paid for it. Roughly $10,000 more than what you paid for it, right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
You don't know him, do you?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
There would be no reason why he would make you a gift. Is that right?
That's correct.
And you have the title for that car.
Yes.
Because you say, according to you, that he didn't fulfill his promise,
Correct.
his contract, to pay you an additional amount for it. Now, you say he agreed to pay you an additional $10,000 for it.
Yes.
I don't know that because none of it's in writing. Anybody have any proof of that?
No, Your Honor.
No. Yeah, good. And you want your car back.
I would just.
You want your car. Well, I'm not giving you $10,000. I want you to just understand that.
Yes.
Because you have no proof here of anything that satisfies me. So I'm asking you, you want nothing or do you want your car back?
What's your $10,000?
I'd rather have my car back than nothing.
You'd rather than have your car back. And
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
you have the car.
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
And you put in some money in the truck.
Yes, the catalytic converters were bad.
How much money did you put into the truck?
$2,165.
Okay. And you have proof of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where?
Donald's witness raises her hand.
Can I help him?
I don't need you for anything.
Here.
A document.
And it still needs another $2,165 for the other side.
And you have the title to the car, is that right?
Yes.
Now, do you want nothing or do you want your truck back, even though he added money to it? Do you want nothing or do you want your truck back? That's my question to you. You want nothing or you want your truck back?
My truck.
Great. And you want your car back?
Yes.
Perfect. And both of you have agreed, because there was clearly some misunderstanding between the two of you, giving you the total benefit of the doubt, sir, that there was additional money to be forthcoming. I'm speaking. Understand this. Neither one of you are leaving here with a penny. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand?
No, I don't. I put
very,
$2,000
very,
into
very,
his truck.
very easy. Very easy, sir. You're getting back a car that you say is worth, she says, is worth $20,000.
Your Honor. Sorry.
It's not going to work for you. You're going to each end up with your own cars back. Since there was clearly a misunderstanding about the nature of the contract, what I'm telling you is I'm going to prepare an order that within 5 days of today's date, you are to exchange cars. Figure out where you want to do that, a mutually convenient place. That's the order of the court. Goodbye.
Court is adjourned.
Not even the $2,000 I put into his truck?
Goodbye.
This way, sir.
You can sell your 47 for a lot more money.
Outside the courtroom, Donald, then Michael.
I didn't bring us here. He brought us here.
I liked his car. He liked my truck. When I got there, we did the exchange. He signed the titles. He gave me the keys to the vehicle.
Well, he gave me a truck that needed a $4,000 repair, and he didn't mention that when he gave it to me. And my car, was nothing wrong with my car.
I have always maintained my vehicle. I have records of it and everything.
I'll just keep my car.
No more business deals.
Sarah and Judy.
So I really agree with you that there was no meeting of the minds because the defendant thought that the plaintiff was going to pay him an additional $10,000 for the 1947 Chrysler, and no one had any proof of anything. So it's really hard to come to court with zero proof on either side. So I think your ruling to leave them how they were found prior to any what they believed to be a contract was the right decision because...
I'm so glad you felt that way.
Well, I mean, I was thinking to myself, looking over the papers, what's she going to do with this one? You know, it's hard because with no proof and a he said, she said verbal agreements with tangible items like vehicles, I probably would have done the same thing. I don't know what to make of this. I have nothing to look at, nothing to rely on.
And it was so interesting because they both bought these cars recently. Neither one of them had bill of sale, said he paid cash, $12,500, showed me where you withdrew the money from a bank. The whole thing was suspicious to me. So to me, the easiest thing to do was leave the parties
as you found them.
As you found them. They had no contract because there was no meeting of the minds as to what the particulars were of the contract. You get your truck back in a little better shape. You get your car back probably in a little better shape, and
be on your way.
Be on your way.
Title: Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.
There was this truck you had with your aunt.
I told her that I could pay it in monthly increments.
He was never able to go and transfer the title?
Because there was not one. I had an officer knock on my door, try to give me a grand theft auto charge.
When did it become uncivilized?
This is Judy Justice. Canales is suing her nephew, Noah Tiarina, for the cost of a Toyota 4Runner.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge.
Thank you.
Case 2160, Canales versus Tiarina.
Thank you.
Judy turns to Susie.
Ms. Canales, is this your son?
Yes, ma'am.
And his name is Chris?
Yes.
Okay. This case is about a truck.
Toyota 4Runner, yes, ma'am.
That was titled in your name, about 21, 22 years old, but was in the possession of your son, Chris.
Yes, ma'am.
And then Chris went to jail.
Yes.
And your great-nephew moved into that house.
Yes, ma'am, correct.
And you moved into that house with your wife, girlfriend?
Fiance.
Fiance.
Yes,
when are you getting married?
So we're waiting on our second daughter in February, so after February.
Okay, well, that's not the way we usually did it 100 years ago in the Stone Age, but I understand that that's the way a lot of people do it these days. Anyway, you moved on to the property. When you moved on to the property, in addition to some other things, there was this truck. When did you give your son the truck? In what year?
It's always been his truck, but I titled it over to him in 2021.
Okay, so you signed over a title to him.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's not your truck anymore. So what are you doing here, suing for it?
He was never able to go and transfer the title or go and register it, so...
Because there was not one.
If you say that again, it won't be good for you. We don't shout out here. I run a very organized shop. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Okay, so you acknowledge that it's always been his truck. Did you buy it new?
I bought it used for
When?
his graduation in 2005.
What's the value of it? Just
between $3,000 to $5,000, but that's based on 100,000 miles and good condition. So.
Okay. Chris, stand up, please. On what date did you go to jail?
April 20th, 2022.
How long were you there?
Till July 11th.
What were you there for?
Drug charge.
Is that still pending?
No, ma'am.
When you were arrested or when you were incarcerated, was there an engine in this truck? Be very careful in your answer. Was the truck running?
Yes, ma'am.
How many miles did the truck have on it?
Roughly 220,000.
And you were in the house and you disposed of the truck.
Amongst other things, yes, ma'am.
All we're talking about here is the truck.
Okay.
On what date did you dispose of the truck?
In August, whenever me and Susie made a verbal agreement for me to have ownership of the truck because it was no longer running.
How did you dispose of it?
It was towed away to a junk shop and used for parts.
You have any paperwork?
I have paperwork for the towing.
Great, I'll see the picture and I'll see the towing receipt. That tells you that it wasn't working.
With the new mileage, about 1,900 to 4,000 would be the range. Again, for good condition.
Judy reviews a document.
Okay, and this is an invoice for $75, junked vehicle towed, no keys, no title, doesn't run, wrecked. Kevin. Yes. Show this to Chris.
Kevin hands the document to Chris.
So that's what you're suing for. You're suing for the value of the truck because it's been junked, so you want $5,000. The truck, at best, if it were running, would be $1,900. According to this, it wasn't running. Now, Mr. Tarina?
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to tell me the conversation you had with your aunt. Her son was now out of jail because if this happened in August, you got out of jail July 11th.
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you go?
I went to my mother's house.
And that was before the truck was towed.
Yes, Your Honor.
Chris, did your cousin tell you that the truck wasn't running?
No, ma'am.
When did you find out that the truck wasn't running?
I was always assuming that it was running. I did attempt to contact him, and he told me to come pick up the truck. And I told him I was on my way. I believe it was on the July 15th. We have the text messages here.
I'd like to see them.
Chris hands documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews an image of a text message.
Okay, so this all sounds very civilized.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Chris, when did it become uncivilized?
It really never became uncivilized. We just, whenever I went to go get it that day, I think something happened and...
I'm not following you.
Okay.
You're all over the place. This all sounds very civilized. He's living in the house now. You were not.
Right.
Some of your stuff was still there.
Correct.
You know each other a long time. Mm-hmm. He said, some stuff I'll throw away. You said, okay, but the other stuff I've got in the house, come by and pick it up. Okay.
Yes.
At that time, he had to have told you that the truck was not running because he said the truck is at the exact same spot where you parked it.
Right. Well, I just assumed they didn't have the key because a lot of my belongings got thrown away.
Well, they didn't have the key because the tow people said that there was no key.
Right. That's just why I assumed the truck was still in the same spot.
Okay. Now you find out that the truck is not running, right? Because you went there to pick up some of your stuff. Come on.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and that was in July because you said you were coming over July 15th.
Yes, ma'am.
So you came to his house where your truck was sitting.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you find out about the truck?
The truck was still in the same spot and it wasn't running.
Same spot?
Same spot.
Did anybody prevent you from taking the truck when you came?
No, ma'am.
Then why didn't you take it?
Just simply for the key. I didn't have the key to turn it on.
Just a second. April, May, June, and July. So the car had not been touched in 4 months. That's what you're telling me, while you were incarcerated. And if you just said to me the car was in the same spot from the time you left now, and there was no key, so you had no idea whether the truck was running or not, right?
Well, I just assumed that it wasn't running because of the key, the no key.
If you were that interested, you would have found out. You would have called a mechanic, they would have come, they would have jump-started the truck, and somebody would have made you a new key. Then you could have taken the truck. He doesn't have to keep your truck on his property.
Well, first of all, my family member said that they were evicted. They had not been evicted.
What evicted? What does that have to do with the truck?
At the time, Your Honor, he, of course, was incarcerated.
No, he wasn't incarcerated. He wasn't incarcerated when you gave him the truck.
No, he was not.
No, I see. I have the dates here that you told me. He wasn't incarcerated. He wasn't incarcerated for a year, and he didn't transfer the title.
I asked my family member if I was able to go into the house and remove all his items and look for the key and the title so I can have the vehicle removed, and everything was thrown out of the house. So when he came to pick it up, it was gone the next day.
Noah grins. Caption coming up.
I have text messages right here saying that she doesn't like being lied to and she's gonna go the court route. I had an officer knock on my door at 8 o'clock in the morning and serve me papers, try to give me a grand theft auto charge and have a felony on my name.
Can I see the text message that she sent to you afterwards?
Later.
He says you didn't make any payments.
I never said I was going to pay him that back.
Well, you told me that you asked him if you could borrow some money. That's
A
what you
couple
said.
times I asked to borrow money, but the entirety of that, all that, like I didn't say I was going to pay that back. And he should know he was just being nice.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Susie, Chris, and Noah.
Susie Canales claims her nephew, Noah Tiarina, owes for the cost of a Toyota 4Runner.
What I'm telling you is he was not prevented from taking the truck the day that he came, which was mid-July. He didn't dispose of the truck until August. That's what this receipt says. I think. No. This invoice was prepared 2 days ago.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, this doesn't say when they took the truck. How did you get this invoice 2 days ago? It was from August.
I got the invoice because I needed it for evidence, and the towing company that sent me that invoice gave me the incorrect day because they sent it to me on the day that they sent me the receipt.
Doesn't say the date it was towed. Junk vehicle towed. You have any email communication or text communication immediately after the vehicle was towed or before?
With her?
Yes.
I called her the day that it was towed because I have respect for my family member, and I said, I'm towing the truck. It needs to get off of my property today. And she said, Mijo, I feel like I should be compensated for the truck. How much do you want for the truck? She said she wanted $500. I told her that I could pay it in monthly increments.
Why would you want to buy a truck that was worthless?
Because I have respect for my family, and I hold family very close to me. And if she says that something's not right, I'm gonna make it right. And that's what I tried to do. I failed on that first month of I was supposed to give her $100. I did not pay the first $100. I have text messages right here saying that she doesn't like being lied to and she's gonna go the court route. I had an officer knock on my door at 8 o'clock in the morning and serve me papers, try to give me a grand theft auto charge and have a felony on my name.
Okay. Can I see the text message that she sent to you afterwards?
Noah hands documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy.
Did you recall, Ms. Canales, having a conversation with your nephew about $500 for the truck?
No, ma'am, I do not.
My witness does.
Shh. How was he supposed to pick up the truck when he just got out of jail the day before you had it towed? And I asked for permission to look for the keys and title, but everything was moved out of the garage. At that time, I was taking my mother to the hospital. But it's okay, I just got to go through the court process. Regardless, you're going to get your money, Aunt Susie. So it's clear that you had a discussion with him about money because he says to you, in response to his statement, so I don't see anything here about $500, but he says, I'm going to get you your money. Well, you didn't say to him, what money are you talking about?
I just told him I was done.
You said, I'm tired of the back and forth, which leads me to believe that that's exactly what happened. Do you have any other documentation of this communication that you had with her? I mean, it's a useless piece of junk of a car anyway.
The only thing I have is a letter of me mailing her the money order. That letter that I mailed her, I have no idea where it is.
Well, I don't know where it is either, but that's a self-serving document. I don't care. But you acknowledge that you told her that you would pay her $500 for the car. She's the registered owner. Is that correct?
Correct.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. I believe you.
Your Honor.
This court is adjourned.
Chris.
He knows he did us wrong, and he knows he's lying right now. This is the only reason why he's acting like that, and that's why the reason my mom is so upset.
It's sad that it had to end that way for a family member because family is something that I hold very close to my heart, and I don't like to see it end that way.
He had free run of all my belongings, and he ended up selling it.
But at the end of the day, it's my livelihood and my fiance's little livelihood that's at stake.
He knows what he did.
I did not take advantage of my own family. Never.
Yeah, it's tore us up a little bit.
It can't be put back together.
Judy and Sarah.
Troublesome. I'll tell you some of the troublesome things that I didn't even want to go into with them. He went to jail in April. His mother knew where the car was. She could have gone to get the car. She had 4 months.
Yeah.
Her son went to the house when he got out of jail in July.
And all he had to do was do the same thing the defendant had to do, call a tow truck, have it towed to your house.
Right.
Get an extra key made.
Right. And I thought that he was actually a pretty good nephew.
Yeah, I did too. He didn't have to pay for the car, but he felt for his aunt and the situation that she was in. And
well, he was just trying to be respectful and
Yes.
probably keep the peace
Exactly.
between everybody. Well, again, no good deed goes unpunished.
I was just about to say that.
Case 2123, Valenzuela versus Jenkins. All parties, please step forward.
Javon Valenzuela claims his former friend, Darian Jenkins, owes for unpaid loans and bail money from a false arrest.
Mr. Valenzuela, it is your claim that the defendant, who is a friend of yours, owes you for some small loans that you made to him.
Yes.
And then it is your claim that he had you falsely arrested.
Yes.
And you want damages for that. You've known him for a while, according to your complaint. You knew him, you were friendly with him, and then he moved out of state and then moved back. Where did you move to, sir?
To Colorado.
And you moved to Colorado from where?
From Texas.
And in Texas is where you knew the plaintiff.
Yes.
In what year did you move to Colorado?
2019.
And in what year did you move back to Texas?
This year, 2022.
And why did you move back?
Why did I move back?
You moved to Colorado for what?
My family was up there, yeah. And then my family went back to Texas.
Oh, so you moved with your family?
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 29.
Did you live with your family in Colorado?
No, we didn't all live together, no.
The reason you say you came back to Texas was because your family came back?
Yeah.
Did you have a job?
Yes, I did.
Where?
I worked from home.
What kind of work?
For a newspaper.
In Colorado?
Yes.
What did you do in Texas?
Whenever I moved back, I was still working from home, but they let me go. I got laid off.
When did you get laid off?
I would say June.
June of this year.
Yes, ma'am.
And what month did you move back to Texas?
Oh, I had already moved back in May.
When you moved back in May, where did you go to live?
I was living in hotels.
But there came a point when you had no money.
It got to a point.
When did it get to a point when you had no money?
Maybe July.
And when did you contact Mr. Valenzuela?
I'd say July.
You didn't contact him in May when you came back?
I just want to say that's a lie.
When did you contact him?
I mean, we talked while I lived in Colorado. You know, we always text each other, so.
Well, when you contacted him in July, what did you say to him?
I couldn't say exactly what I said, but.
Give me the gist of it.
Let me borrow some money, I guess.
Okay. And you needed it for living?
Right.
And what did he say to you?
He did sometimes if I asked him.
Okay. And how much did he give you?
Here and there, maybe 100, maybe 2 every.
No, altogether.
Altogether? Oh, I couldn't say how much altogether.
You couldn't say?
I couldn't say, maybe a few hundred.
Did he give you money for housing?
A couple times he did.
How much?
100 here, 100
Do you have
there.
a record of how much you gave him, sir?
I do.
Okay, because he's already said, and would you read that back to me, Whitney, please, about borrowing?
Said, let me borrow some money.
Right. Okay, let me borrow some money. So tell me how much money you let him borrow.
$1,200.
Show me.
Javon produces documents.
Okay, now tell me what that is that you're giving him, all those papers that you expect me to read.
These are screenshots of every time I sent him money.
Oh, can I see it, please? Okay, get ready, Sarah Rose.
Caption, coming up.
Anybody who came could see that your lip was bloody. You say he fell, must have fallen outside. You don't know how that happened. But if you both are alleging that there was a fight, police would look at you and say, well, he's injured. They wouldn't have arrested you unless you had a warrant, right?
Javon shakes his head. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Javon and Darian.
Javon Valenzuela is suing his former friend, Darian Jenkins, for unpaid loans and damages from an assault.
So every time you gave him money...
He agreed to pay me back.
No, he's already told me that he called you and asked if he could borrow some money, and you said yes, and he said, I don't know how much it was. So if he doesn't know how much it was, you have screenshots of it, and Sarah is going to add them all up. Okay.
Judy hands documents to Sarah.
Of all the money that you said that you borrowed from him, how much did you pay back?
120.
Good guess. Did he give you back $120?
No.
Did he give you back anything?
No.
Nothing ever?
No.
Okay. So while Sarah is adding that up, there came a point when you left the hotel Is that right?
Yes.
And Mr. Valenzuela probably got tired of giving you money and it said that you could stay in a spare room in his house.
For the most part, yes.
And you moved in August of 2022, the end of August.
Yes.
And then in September, you had a fight. I don't care what the fight was about. Became physical?
He was physical, yes.
No, I wasn't, Your Honor. No, I wasn't.
Let's say you had an argument that spilled out into the street, because this becomes very important, because there's the other charge is false arrest. And it was a false arrest, you claim, based on his statement to the police that you assaulted him.
Right.
Right. He says, yes, you had an argument, but you weren't arrested on his allegation that you assaulted him, but you were arrested and held on an outstanding warrant. When the police responded, they found that there was an outstanding warrant. So now I want you to tell me, in September of 2022, did you have an outstanding warrant? That's either a yes or a no.
Well, it was on a payment plan.
I don't care what it was. Did you have an outstanding warrant?
Yes.
And the outstanding warrant was for a what?
Traffic tickets.
What kind of traffic ticket?
I think I was speeding, and I didn't have my license either.
So speeding, driving without a license. What else? You have insurance?
I think it was insurance.
Not think. Speeding, driving without a license, and no insurance.
And no tags.
And no tags. And for that, you got fined.
Yes.
And you didn't pay the fine.
I was paying it.
Well, there wasn't a warrant outstanding because you were cooperating and paying the fines.
The county that I'm in, they said, the police officer said, it doesn't matter if you're on a payment plan. They'll arrest you if they want to.
Mr. Valenzuela, did you miss payments on your fine?
Yes.
Perfect. And so when the police responded to this kerfuffle that was out in the street, when they ran both your names, your name came up with an active warrant.
Yes.
Well, that's easy. So that you were arrested on the outstanding warrant.
I would have never been arrested, though, if he wouldn't have acted.
If he didn't call the police.
No, he didn't call the police.
Who did?
My neighbor did, because the way he was acting.
So your neighbor called the police, but for the outstanding warrant, I don't know whether the police would have taken you into custody. You had an injured lip. They could see that your lip was bloody. You say he fell, must have fallen outside. You don't know how that happened. It's really not relevant to this case. But if I were the police and I showed up, you didn't have any visible injuries, right? No, you had a busted lip. If you both are alleging that there was a fight, police would look at you and say, well, he's injured. He's got a busted lip, got to sew it up. They wouldn't have arrested you unless you had a warrant, right?
Right.
Good. So that's not his fault that you had a warrant. It's not his fault.
I have that total. It's $2,727.56, and that's including some direct payments to Motel 6s and other housing accommodations.
Includes that?
Yes, in addition to direct payments to the defendant.
Great. He says you didn't make any payments. $27.27.
I mean, there's no way he expected me to pay. I never said I was going to pay him that back.
Well, you told me that you asked him if you could borrow some money. That's what you said.
A couple times I asked to borrow money, but the entirety of all that, like, I didn't say I was going to pay that back. And he should know he was just being nice.
He's being
and
nice.
Sometimes he offered.
Not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore.
You have a job now?
Yes.
Okay, great. 27-27, judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Darian.
I think he was just mad overall, so he just picked something to get me back with.
Just like he said, he thought I was being nice. Why would you say you're gonna pay me back, but then not pay me back?
He was screaming, yeah, he was screaming, yeah, just screaming, cussing, like, embarrassing.
He was acting crazy, and because he was acting crazy, woke up the whole neighborhood.
Well, he was drunk, going crazy outside, running around the apartment complex, so she called the cops on him.
That's what made my neighbor call the cops, and that's why they came.
Oh, no, there's no friendship. It's gone. Yeah.
Don't have friends like that, but also don't bite the hand that feeds you. Nothing comes good out of it, so.
Sarah.
Just something funny from the receipts that I was looking at. Some of them say the price really big on Venmo or Cash App, and then it just says completed at the bottom. On some of them, though, you could see heart emojis that the defendant sent thanking him, basically acknowledging that he received the money payment, sent a red heart emoji, and some of them were at very odd hours of the night, like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, some direct to Motel 6, some direct to other housing accommodations.
It's so interesting.
But I liked the receipts. I liked the
I never
paper trail.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
made it easy.
It's true. And because when people say I gave him cash and
even with an ATM slip, you never really know if the cash transferred hands
but this actually makes our job much easier.
Yes, it does.
Title: Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.
এবার রিভাইভাস দিয়ে ক্লিয়ার দিয়ে দে ভাই কষ্টে মষ্টে নক করছি ओरे हैकर हैकर को मार दिया 4-0 खाएगा क्या भाई भाई 7-0 खाओगे
एक नंबर का हैकर इधर है एक नंबर का
जी उड़ाई देती করে
আমি জানি না আনো তাড়াতাড়ি আমার কাজ আছে গাইস
এখন আমি কথা আমাকে খালি দিবে বলতে এবার